See if it's starting. I think we're live. Go on, try it.
Good morning. Welcome to day 2 at Edgbaston. We're the 212th men.
Ooh.
This is our first live event.
We are fucking up the technology already. Anyway, go on. Carry on, Rob. Do your intro.
Good morning. This is as you can tell, this is the first ever live event of the 212th men. I'm Rob Taylor. He's George Bottomley. It's cloudy in Birmingham. We've got England coming out to bowl very shortly. Jerusalem will soon be echoing across Edgbaston. How are you feeling?
I'm a bit nervous. I didn't like that declaration. I don't know about you.
The declaration is
the hot topic.
Is the hot topic. I think when asked yesterday, there was mixed opinion. I thought it was brilliant. Others thought it might be a bit premature. I don't know. We're going to see, aren't we?
What do you reckon? Peterson was pretty critical. And I think if Peterson's a very attacking man. If he's being critical of an attacking declaration, you've got to question it a little bit.
Bit of friction between him and Nasser Hussain, you know.
That's what I didn't see that, but that's what you've been saying.
It felt like Peterson was irking him a little bit when he was disagreeing. It could set the tone of where obviously the series is going to go. I said to you this morning when we were having breakfast, is this kind of Ben Stokes looking to, confuse Australia? Yeah. Is it kind of say we're going to be so quirky, you're not going to really know what's hitting you at any given time?
Yeah. I don't think we're good enough to mess around like that. I think Smith, Labuschagne, and they could put 500 on. I would have liked 450. I kept on rattling on about 450 all day with you, didn't I?
Yeah.
I think 450 was my dream. 400 felt like minimum. I suppose we're 7 runs short of that. That's my negativity as always. I suppose, should we first of all say, this is a great cause, Bob. Turning blue for Bob,
which you forgot the memo.
I forgot the memo.
Bob Willis, obviously, an England legend, an Ashes legend for sure. Many, many good memories. We sadly lost Bob a number of years ago, but I think Sky doing a great job of trying to, raise money for the situation. It's prostate cancer, isn't it?
Very anti-Bazball, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
You could imagine his thoughts on the declaration.
If you don't remember Bob Willis from days gone by, this was at the sort of aftermath in the studio where he would be critical, and he'd go, "Well, Charles," and he'd tear a new lump into England, whether they've been collapsing or whether they've been,
I think when it
performing the day.
When it comes to our relationship with cricket, I think I'm much more the Bob Willis than you are.
Yeah, for sure.
I was moaning this morning about not starting with Anderson. I thought that was a problem as well as a declaration. What do you reckon, Broad versus Warner Robinson? It wasn't a good start. You thought they bowled a bit short.
I thought Broad was a little bit short. The pitch concerns me a little bit because we didn't see, apart from I think the one ball Ollie Robinson bowled, we didn't see the ball beat the bat many times.
No.
Everything was coming out the middle. Warner looked quite comfortable. The only sort of hesitation we saw, or a little bit of the Aussies looking hot water, was running between the sticks. Warner was desperate to get off strike from Broad in that first over, wasn't he?
Doesn't look like there's a lot of chemistry, does it, between them two?
Yeah.
Khawaja is quite lethargic. Warner's a busy bugger. That looked like our best chance. It hit the middle of the bat. It hit the middle of Warner's bat time and time again. That made me nervous, I must admit.
We're not legally allowed to commentate on this game. That the play's going to come out very soon. I just wanted to say a welcome to the people that are tuning in this morning, wherever you may be in the world. We already had a couple of comments coming through. Good morning, Asanka. He's saying there that he hopes that we can have a good second day. I know Asanka's an avid Sri Lanka fan, so hopefully he's siding with England today.
I watched the Test Series 2 this week, just running up to this test, just to get me in a mood. And I thought that the last episode of that, when they're in Sri Lanka and there's all of the protests going on, the storm in the capital, the protesters, the president leaves.
Yeah.
I thought that was a brilliant piece of kind of. It's very rare that those like sports docu-series have
broadcast
things
that kind
are
of thing.
so kind of politically raw. And
Yeah.
I thought I had such a good kind of juxtaposition between the relaxed kind of nature of the test match that was going on. It was all in good spirits, and then what was going on outside the fort walls of goal. I thought it was a really
such a great cricket nation that we hope obviously will come over its hard times, and we'll hopefully see continue to flourish on the pitch. The England team are just walking out now. They're wearing the light blue caps, the same colour of this shirt, to commemorate to sort of champion Bob Willis Day.
What's your dream
going blue
start,
for Bob? The dream start. Well, there's clouds around in Birmingham, so I'm hoping that we get some movement first and foremost. That was my worry. I didn't see loads of movement yesterday, and in a short space of time, a couple of overs, it looks like it might be a bit of an uphill task today. We'll see. We'll certainly see. It's going to be intriguing. I think we definitely had the better batting conditions yesterday.
Yeah, it looks like they're all coming out here, aren't they? Is this for?
There must be a picture taking place of some sort.
Yeah, I think start with Anderson and who else? Anderson and who?
Anderson and Broad.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
I think so. Do you disagree?
No. Yeah, I think Anderson, Broad. Robinson didn't look great. I mean, you see him fall over yesterday.
Yeah, there appears to be a kind of like foot mark, doesn't there? I think they've adjusted to that with the old hammer this morning.
Well, I hope so. Yeah.
Sledgehammer.
I look really bad. I was worried at first because I tell you what, one thing we don't want in this test match is Stokes having to bowl a lot of overs.
Yeah,
that would be a real worry.
I want to shout out to some friends of ours who actually watch us live in Marbella. So we've got a Spanish contingency following us today. Oh. Good morning, gents.
We've gone international.
Hope you enjoy the cricket.
Gone international for once in our lives.
Yeah. So we obviously, going back to the legalities of this, we can't actually have the sound on, can we? Is that right?
I think if we had the sound on it,
it'd muffle us. Right, that's good. Because I was wondering whether is there a minute silence taking place or a clap of appreciation?
Yeah, it looks like a clap of appreciation. I don't think we should clap. Just
I can't hold this microphone and clap.
Yeah, I don't know how good that will sound to the listeners.
Well, I'm just marking my respects.
Merv Hughes does a lot of that, doesn't he? Sat in the crowd. Have you seen that?
Yeah. Merv Hughes actually was local to us the week. He was at Greenmount Cricket Club.
They all played in the Lancashire League, didn't they?
They did. Matthew Hayden's one of my dad's victims.
Greenmount.
Along with the Neville brothers.
Yeah.
And Neville.
Yeah.
That's the dad.
Neville. Yes. Right. So what do you think of Root's innings yesterday? Come on, let's do a quick recap of yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely superb. I was a little bit wary of Root's form going into this Ashes series because he's had a little bit of Cummins has had a little bit of a number on Root, hasn't he, for a number of years? But he stepped up when we needed him yesterday. I think with Root, although we saw him do a number of those sort of shovel shots, they're amazing, aren't they? Off 85, 90 miles per hour bowlers, shoveling them over the keeper's head up for six. If you look at how many balls it took him to get his 100, it wasn't demonstrative of Bazball itself. It was kind of like the old Joe Root that's been so prolific over the years. Yeah. I think even a player like him that's so adaptable, I think he knows in his head still went about properly.
I think
you know what I mean. He knows that if you saw Moeen Ali and Bairstow's dismissal, they were they were obviously huge stumpings and way far out the crease. I think Joe Root in his mind, even at the middle, when someone like Ollie Robinson came to the crease, he goes, "Listen, mate, I know there's Bazball happening here, but we've got to be a bit sensible, otherwise we're going to be out for 320 or something like that."
I felt that last summer there were times where Root seemed to take the Bazball thing a little bit too far for what I would like Root to be in this side. I think yesterday he really kind of represented what he'd be for the one-day team.
Yeah.
In terms of knocking it around, running quickly between the wickets, being that anchor that all the rest of the aggressive batsmen can bat around.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing Pope could learn. If Pope and Root were those batsmen that were just ticking it over, and you've got your Crawley, Duckett, Brooks, Stokes, Bairstow who can wallop it around them, that feels like the perfect balance for this side. It looks like Broad's going to take the new ball.
It does, yeah.
And yeah, I suppose that's the one thing that I was really heartened by with Root yesterday was the tempo that he batted at. It wasn't frenetic.
It's important. I know he declared, so it's a bit of a cop out, but having him not out and starting the series of 100 sets the tone. Because if England are going to win this Ashes series, Joe Root needs to have a good series. I think that's indisputable, isn't it?
Because I think it's guaranteeing that Smith will have a good series. It was really ominous.
I'm dreading Smith batting on this pitch, man. I really am.
I mean, you have your nightmares about Smith.
Are we behind here, by the way? Are we exactly on the minute?
I think we're probably behind. We're streaming it.
Australia could have lost a wicket here, but if you tune into here, you're going to hopefully be at the same pace as us. So the first ball's coming up. Broad's going to bowl to Warner.
So Sanka says, an amazing innings from Root. You guys agreed with the declaration 393.
Well, yeah.
No, I didn't like it. I was with Peterson. I thought we should have gone more. I think there's a balance between this kind of boldness and also ruthlessness.
Yeah.
I think the great Australian sides were really aggressive sides, but they were also ruthless. That sometimes on that first day, I think Cummins, Boland, and Hazelwood would have been quite happy with that declaration. Let's put our feet up.
I'm going to watch this first ball, and I'm going to give you my view on Asanka's question. But they're going to come. Stuart Broad's going to run in now, and it's facing Warner. It's got to be some swing today, surely.
Well, it's cloudy. I mean, if you don't swing in these first few overs, we're going to be worrying.
Yeah. Let's see. Come on.
Warner's got a real ham hock of a head, hasn't he? He looks like a American bully, a high school bully.
Yeah. Here we go. Ooh. Yeah, Sanka, my answer to the declaration, for me, I'm a man of things have to look good in my mind, and the number 400.
Yeah.
It kind of, I feel that sends out a different psychological message than 391. Is it just me that thinks?
No, I agree. I think most cricket fans think in that way, don't they? Is we're very into our numbers, we're very into our stats.
It's aesthetically how it appears on a scoreboard. If you're 70 for 2, you feel like you're in good shape.
Yeah.
70 for 4 all of a sudden just looks, without stating the obvious, you know what I mean? It looks more precarious, doesn't it?
You always say add 2 wickets onto a score, don't you? What does it look like then? I think it's a really nervy morning for us.
Mark Taylor said, the ex-Australian captain, if you get 400 in a Test match, you're always in the game.
Yeah,
I feel free when you score big into a 3.
Yeah,
if you're batting second as a team, you think that's chaseable. Anything with a 3, isn't it?
Yeah.
In most conditions.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a ridiculous green seam, or it's like
the thing I really fear is I think that Australia are more than capable of putting on 500.
Yeah.
And then we're well behind the 8 ball if we've got a deficit of 100, and we've got a shaky top 3. I'm still unconvinced by our top 3 just because of the lack of experience they've got in this kind of cricket.
Better from Broadmoor, full. I thought it was a little bit short last night. Did you?
It feels very.
Come here, you've got something in your hair.
What is it? Like
no idea.
Yeah, thanks for that. Nina's really worried that we're having an affair.
Really?
Yeah, she said after our weekend down at London, I was saying I took him to this pub, I took him to this pub.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, that's all the things you do with me.
Well,
she's really worried.
It's like a bromance sort of thing, isn't it? You need to have relationships with people beyond Nina.
Of course, I know.
Not in a gay way, obviously. Yeah. So far, we're not seeing loads of balls beating the bat, are we?
It feels like Rawalpindi, this pitch. That's what I'm worried about. Is that I think it's really flat. We've got to get answers on.
Rawalpindi's Pakistan, if anyone wants to know that. Been a lot of cricket out of Pakistan for some time. You might be not up to date with the cities and grounds.
So coming back to Joe Root for a second.
Yeah.
30 Test match centuries now. 3 behind Cook.
Mm-hmm.
We'll need 4 to go highest ever Test match centuries.
Yeah.
Has there ever been kind of, not just in our lifetime, a better English batsman?
I think for versatility and obviously what he brings and the speed he scores runs. Whenever, if you're not watching the cricket and you tune into something like Test Match Special or BBC Sport on your computer when you're at work, he seems to blink between 0 and 30. He's on 30 very quick, isn't he?
Yeah.
I think that's something in his head. He must think I get to 30 and I'm in here.
Yeah.
Whereas other, dominant batsmen of this era might look at it and go, just get myself in. Like Steve Smith will probably take a little bit longer to get there. It's always been his style to score, though, to get his eye in quite quickly.
He's got almost the elegance of Ian Bell.
Yeah, who we've just seen on screen, by the way. We're very swished, didn't he?
And kind of the dominance of Kevin Peterson. But he's also got a bit more of a ruthless streak than those 2 batsmen.
Yeah.
Peterson would often get himself out. Bell would waft outside off stump, whereas Root just seems to be that level above, closer to Cook, that once he's in, you ain't getting him out. Brilliant batsman.
First over's gone. Guys, if anyone's tuning in and wants to ask us some questions, there's an opportunity to do so, and we'll read them out and answer as and when we see them. Of course, if you don't follow our YouTube channel already, please follow it. We're also on Twitter, Instagram, and a couple of other bits and bats, aren't we?
I noticed that we had a comment on our video the other day.
Saying what?
Just stop oil.
Just Stop Oil.
Yeah, it was Nina's brother.
Was it really?
It was very funny.
Oh, right. It was not a genuine Just Stop Oil protest, or is it?
No,
kind of thing?
No. It was just. I think there was some kind of protest at Lord's or something, and we'd done a podcast, and that was our first ever comment. So we've always said that we'll try and stay away from politics, just stick to the cricket.
If there's an Ashes series going and Just Stop Oil are going to sabotage 212 men, I think we can be the sacrificial lamb there. Can't
they do use orange as their kind of symbol, don't they? So
maybe there's a collaboration going on. Yeah. We might have to do that.
Yeah. Well,
what's your views on oil?
I don't know.
I like the olive stuff.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Jimmy Anderson from the end. I'm not sure about what's it called.
I don't know. No idea.
Yeah, not good events.
What did you think of Edgbaston when we went?
We went in the COVID days, didn't we? Where we had to get on a fucking coach, didn't we, from Birmingham City Centre, wear masks, prove a that we, what was it, an antigen test. We had to present that, didn't we?
Had all our documents.
Had all our documents, walked in with masks, took our masks off and we sat down. It was a weird experience, wasn't it? And it was actually a pretty bad day's cricket for England, wasn't it? We watched Devon Conway slap it about, didn't we?
Dan Lawrence bowled about 20 overs, didn't he?
Yeah.
It wasn't, It's not good stuff.
It's like you said, it's become a bit of a fortress for England. I know they've lost the last 2 test matches, so you might think, what's he on about? But I think till then, had they not lost a test match since 2002 or something like that?
Yeah, and I think that's why they did this in the last series, didn't they? Is they start at Edgbaston now for the Ashes.
Yeah.
I think that we really need to win this test match because Lords, we do not have a good record. I looked, and in the last 30 years, we've won 1 test match against England, against Australia at Lords. So I think there's a real kind of necessity to win this one.
Yeah, for sure.
In some ways, the cricket fan in me kind of, this existential plight of Test cricket. I wouldn't mind going into the 3rd Test 1-all, all to play for. I know you want
to beat, don't you?
Yeah. There's a part of me that does want a 3-2 thriller. I want a 2005 style series.
So what do you make of these 2 batsmen in now, Khawaja and Warner? Like I said to you, I think I said to you this morning at breakfast, forget the type of players they are. Both of them are a little bit iffy in England, if you look at the records.
Yeah.
For me, we have to have Smith and Labuschagne as soon as possible. I'd hate for these to have put on a 50-80 partnership and then them 2 come in when they've got a platform.
Yeah, so if they got an 80 partnership here, we're talking 300. Australia trail by 300.
Yeah.
And then you've got Smith and Labuschagne come in. That's a guaranteed 150.
Yeah.
It starts getting very nervy at that point, doesn't it?
Yeah.
No.
Still, going back to the declaration, because a lot of people have asked us questions about this. Although it seems a very batting-friendly wicket, Australia proved yesterday that opportunities will present themselves. So England have got to be so vigilant in the field. They've got to, anytime Australia give them an inch, they've got to take it.
Do you not think in some ways we gave away a lot of wickets yesterday? I think we left a lot of runs out there. In
some ways, yeah. But like I said, Australia won't score as quickly as England. England have probably got a total that would have been accumulated in a day and a session. So a full day and a morning session.
Yeah.
They just batted at a higher, rate. The run rate was a lot higher than usual because it's the way they play, the way they articulate themselves. So Australia still have lots to do, It's not going to, I don't think they'll be flawless. Better from Jimmy, better full length, isn't it?
So the question there is from Asanka again. Root's 32 years old. Can he break Sachin's, best part of 16,000 runs? He's got 11,000 at the moment. I don't think Root will go past. I think Root's got a few more years in him. I don't think he's got 5,000 more runs in him. I don't know about you.
Is without obviously being a complete stato. Yeah. Is that across all international formats or Test match?
Just Test.
Yeah, it seems steep, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That said, England are going to play a lot of Test cricket, aren't they? More so than other nations in the next calendar, or Test calendar, if you like.
I think particularly if we're playing Test cricket in this manner, Root won't get another 5,000 because we're declaring at will almost. It's very attacking. Broad, a little bit more nip there.
Yeah, a bit of nip and fuller as well.
I think it's going to be very difficult for. Yeah, I don't see him going past Sachin. I think he'll easily go past Cook.
Yeah. Do you know what it reminds me of?
Go
on. The crocodile who came to tea,
right?
Who smiles like that. He's got that crocodile smile, hasn't he?
He's not
very Aussie-like. I'm going to really miss him, Warner.
Yeah, I know.
I hate this guy, but I love him. I like the villain in him.
In some ways, he's the last bastion of that old Australian age, isn't he? Of nasty.
Or do you think the next the next shit that rocks up is going to be like Adam Zampa, Bondi Beach, vegan food kind of thing, surfer?
Well, that's what it is, really, isn't it? Cummins, Hazelwood, even Lyon's really toned down. Lyon used to be a bit of a pantomime villain as well, but he's coming out. He gave a really warm press conference last night about England's performance. They seem to have, this Cummins era is stepping. Sandpaper was stepping away.
Yeah.
When Langer and Tim Payne took over, and then now Cummins is even taking it further, where it does seem to be a little bit more, I suppose, nice, friendly. I don't know whether that's just because they know they're a good side, and if they lost a few players and they were struggling, you'd see that nastiness come back.
Mm-hmm.
But Warner does feel like a bit of a dying breed these days in Australia.
For sure. Catch.
You know.
I love a hopeful, like, glance down leg side, hoping the glove on it.
Burstow got runs yesterday.
Yeah.
Does that justify his selection? Is that why we had him in?
I always wanted Burstow in the side in some capacity. I think the main argument was where he would bat, because for me, who wanted to keep Ben Foulkes in the team as keeper, you'd have probably have to open.
Yeah,
that's where you're looking at where he might come in. Like he never been away at it, and I know his dismissal was disappointing, but he was really fine in the middle, and he played some great shots, and it's been obviously a very useful score, hasn't it?
I suppose the one thing we would say is the declaration in some ways could be justified that if there's weather around, it looks like it might rain on Sunday, bit of rain on Monday. We've really put timing back into the game.
Sure.
If Ben Foulkes was playing yesterday, would he have scored at the rate that would have allowed us to declare at the time that we did? Probably not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I am listening to you.
So I do understand why they've gone with Bairstow. It seems like the right selection with the approach that we're going with, and also our tail's crap. You know.
Well, you say that. Moeen-Ali's at 8.
I know, but just with the fact that
Robinson looked like he could hold a bat yesterday.
I suppose the Bairstow decision was made before we knew Ali was playing.
Yeah.
And I just think that the Australians made a little bit of a wrong choice not picking Stark. I think Stark's with Moeen-Ali batting at 8 and some of our tail blowing them away. There's an advantage of having Stark and having the point of difference with the left arm and the pace.
Yeah, so hard, isn't it? So until both teams are battered, you don't know what was right, what was wrong. Will rain affect the pitch?
So speaking of Ali, got question in here: can Ali do the same as Lyon? It looked like it's spinning. What do you reckon?
Nathan Lyon has such great control, doesn't he?
Yeah,
and I think it wouldn't be unreasonable to say that Moeen-Ali is more of an aggressive spinner, isn't he? He goes for, he goes for that that one delivery that's got your name on it.
Yeah,
I don't think he'll have the same containment as Lyon will have.
Yeah,
like I said to you yesterday, Lyon yesterday, although I think we played Lyon quite well considering how we've played in other years. In years gone by, Lyon has really, got English batsmen to like dig a grave, hasn't he? Yeah. But yesterday they took the game to him. Harry Brook did, Bairstow did, Root did. But his accuracy and his control will mean he's always in the game, even when a team's coming after him. I think that's a sign of a good spinner. I don't think economically Moeen-Ali will be able to compete with
3.5 over.
Yeah, compete with Lyon. But if England's pace attack is struggling to sort of gain any inroads into Australia, and there's an opportunity to spin on this wicket, could then that present an opportunity for Moeen-Ali? Maybe.
I think in some ways, if you look at today's
Birmingham lad as well, I suppose.
Yeah, if you look at today, Anderson and Broad and Robinson might have to play a bit of a holding role at times, and Ali's your wicket-taking option.
Yeah,
with the left-handers that they've got, particularly if Khawaja and Warner started to make a bit of a partnership, ball into the rough outside there off stump. I know that Morgan said yesterday morning that the pitch looked like a day 2 pitch.
Yeah.
So they were probably playing on a day 3 pitch, so you would expect it to turn a little.
Yeah.
Lyon obviously got 4 wickets yesterday. Maybe Ali is the attacking option. You've obviously got Root as well, who can bowl a few overs if it does start to spin. Anderson can go at 2 and over, 1.5 and over all day, really. Obviously, he can't bowl all day.
Always do a spinner's job, can't you? Containment.
Yeah. I think we are going to have to. It does look very placid at the moment.
Khawaja and Warner are getting a lot of bat and ball here, aren't they? Seem to have a lot of time to play shots.
There's a lot of criticism of Pat Cummins' tactics yesterday.
Yeah, so that's right. So Pat Cummins was putting a very deep field for Australia, which was almost welcoming singles for England, wasn't it? A lot of pundits were criticising him for that, weren't they?
I think it's
just beat the bat first time.
I do think there is a little bit of it touches on this in that Test series of when the players obviously got it feels like the bowlers got rid of Langer.
Yeah.
The Australian bowlers sent him on his way. And, Ponting, Hayden, Gilchrist, a lot of them are Langer's mates, ex-colleagues. It does feel like as soon as Cummins puts the slightest bit of a foot wrong, they're right into him. It reminds me of how Peterson and Warne at times were with Alistair Cook.
Yeah.
Very quick to criticise.
Yeah. I think there was rumours that Smith was undermining Cummins in the field yesterday at times.
Yeah, that's what you said. I didn't see that myself, but I suppose he does need a good lieutenant, doesn't he? He's going to need a good vice captain being a bowling captain.
Yeah. And, if history would had not taken place and Sandpaper hadn't been a thing, there's arguments to say Smith would still be captain today.
Yeah.
But the rest, he says, history, isn't it?
And I suppose one thing that you mentioned was that these tactics that Australia used aren't new. Did you use them against India?
That's right, yeah. So we saw a tweet earlier, I think, from Tim Wigmore saying that Australia's one of the finest hours, the proudest moments was a victory against India in the early noughties.
Yeah.
And at the time, India had an attack of, a batting attack, if you like, an opening of Sehwag, Laxman, Tendulkar, all very attacking, forthcoming batsmen. The strategy was similar then, was to push people deep, welcome the singles, and they actually came out victorious in that game.
Yeah.
So maybe there was essence of Justin Langer still sort of, some of his tactics that he might have shared with the team. I don't know.
I think there's method in the madness in the sense of England want to score boundaries, don't they?
Yeah.
They want to score quickly. If they'd had an orthodox field yesterday, would England have got 450 in the same amount of time? Could they have got 500?
Mm-hmm.
Does it frustrate batsmen like Crawley and Duckett if they're only ticking the singles over and they're not smashing the ball to the boundary?
Yeah,
could be an argument for that. And also, in many ways, we're seeing it now while England are bowling. This is a dead pitch, so maybe you do have to think about things differently.
Sure.
I'm sure England have obviously got conventional fields at the moment, but you're going to have to quickly switch if it carries on like this because it's just smashing the middle of the bat.
For sure. So Australia, they've got Warner and Khawaja in. It's Labuschagne 3, Smith 4, Travis Head, then Cam Green. You do think if you can get over in golf terms, when you've got 3 hard holes, they call it amen corner, don't they? If you can get over the Labuschagne Smith Head sort of zone, you feel like you can make inroads into that tail, don't you?
Yeah.
Provided your bowlers are fresh enough. Although a friend of ours did raise a good point. He said, with our bowlers not being excessive pace, and let's just say they're a little bit leggy come towards the end of this innings, are they going to have the answers to bowl over or completely wipe out the tail of Australia? And there's arguments to think that might not be there without someone like Wood.
Well, we saw that in the last Edgbaston Test match in the Ashes, didn't we? Australia's tail can wag. Stark can hold a bat, Cummins can hold a bat. They probably have a little bit of a deeper batting lineup than we do, even though we've got Ali at 8. You know.
And there's a little bit of a ghost of this ground that could pop up, because last time England bowled at Australia here in the first innings, they were 8 down for 120. Steve Smith was still in.
Yeah,
Siddle. I think Siddle got something like 60 odd, didn't he?
Yeah.
Really frustrating. There's nothing more frustrating when your team is bowling at tail enders and scoring runs.
I think Smith got a century in both innings of that Test match.
Mm-hmm.
So that's ominous.
Yeah.
You're obviously telling us on Wednesday night about your dreams about Smith.
Oh God, yeah. It is recurring dream kind of shit watching Steve Smith, isn't it?
He is. Who's like your worst?
Oh, that one nips in. Sorry,
that's the first one.
In swingers really get.
That's the first one we've seen properly move, isn't it? Today.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that we did see yesterday when Australia bowled was once the lacquer came off the ball, it started to move a bit more. So maybe we just have to be patient in these first few overs.
Yeah.
And then once the lacquer's off the ball, maybe it moves around a little bit more.
Yeah.
I've got another question here.
What's the question?
I tell you what, my eyes are going a bit. I have to properly
lean in.
How you see the form of Smith and Head in the World Test Championship? They will be key wickets. Yeah, you've just said that's the amen corner of this batting lineup.
We've just seen the first boundary of the day, a back foot sort of pull from Khawaja.
I think in some ways there's a real wealth of experience in this batting lineup, isn't there? Khawaja's played he must have played at least 50 Test matches. Warner's played upwards of 100 Test matches. Labuschagne's getting there. Smith's played close to 100. Head's probably the newbie. Green, I suppose it is. You've got to get past Smith, and then you do get a little bit less experience when you get to Head.
Yeah. Although they can hold a bat, there's errors obviously in that tail for sure. I don't think Cummins has ever really shown his true potential with the bat personally.
No.
But yeah, Promising signs from Broad here. I know he's just been smacked for a 4, but bit of movement on that. Obviously, delivery before that, and bowling a lot fuller. Not giving much away.
There was talk before the series that Warner's going to come out and he's going to try and be a bit more aggressive. That in 2019 he might have been a bit tentative at times. I think that is the right approach for Warner. I think you could rattle England if Warner starts to attack, knowing what's to come.
We'll obviously get the stats on people that are joining us. If you are joining us, thank you very much.
Simon Jones, we were talking about Simon Jones this morning, weren't we? In many ways, this team is comparable to the 2005 team. Obviously, there was real synergies with 2005 Edgbaston. Yesterday, I think they scored pretty much at the same rate, and the same amount of runs were scored in the first day at Edgbaston as were scored in Edgbaston in 2005. My concern about playing on pitches like this, it obviously really aids our batting lineup, but we don't have the pace that we had in 2005. If you think about Harmus and Flintoff, Simon Jones, that was what really that was our point of difference. And
we've arguably got more skill, though, haven't we?
We have
so on the right pitches. It's it proves itself. You've got 1,000 wickets between two of those bowlers that are playing now.
But it's aging skill, isn't it? We've seen Broad and Anderson have struggled in the second innings of games. In recent years, Robinson's always also been brilliant since he's come into the
match.
No, Robinson's obviously been brilliant since he's come into the side, but it's just whether it's just a bit samey.
Yeah,
I would have liked Mark Wood in this team. I know I keep banging on about it, but
yeah,
I think that Mark Wood would be the point of difference. And I don't think Mark Wood suits Lords.
Yeah.
I don't think Lords particularly suits real pace bowling.
Yeah. Just want to say you intercepted me before, but we can get the statistics on people that are obviously tuning in here. We've got quite a number now, so thank you very much. Please feel free to leave a comment, but please obviously like this stream, share it with your socials so we can get more people hopefully joining us, and ask us any questions if need be. There's a section there where you can ask questions. We've had quite a few already. We'll do the best we can. This is much better from Broad, by the way. He's beating the bat now and he's asking some questions. So we're starting to see a bit of movement now. This ball has had a bit of scuffing, a few smacks to the boundary.
Yeah, I think that once
you're a balls expert, aren't you?
I think once the lacquer comes off.
What's the lacquer? Explain to people what this is if you're not.
So
a cricket anorak.
Yes, a cricket ball has kind of, I suppose, like a sheen, doesn't it? Like what would you call it? Like a coating. No, coating around.
Yeah.
And as the ball wears, that it'll become softer. It'll knock some of that when it hits the pitch. It'll knock some of that coating off.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you start to just get a rough side and a shiny side, get a bit of moisture into the ball, shine it up on one side.
Yeah.
And then it'll start to swing a little bit more. So I think as we get towards like the 10 over mark, we might see a little bit more of that. Looks like you've got a comment here. What's it say? It
says, Who trapped you both in the cupboard under the stairs, and why won't they let you out?
Oh, yeah.
Do you know who that is?
Tom Lock. I don't know. I can.
Is that like a?
Only assume it's one of the Joeys that we know.
Yeah.
I
don't know. Is that some sort of like?
I think you're saying that the attic looks like under the stairs.
This is not an attic. This is a heavily invested studio. Yeah. Can you not tell by the bat?
How much have we spent on this studio, Rob? Go on, have a look around.
Don't know. We had to dig deep, didn't we?
Yeah.
Only people with deep pockets can afford a studio like this.
So, what do you think then? First half an hour gone. How do you feel?
I'm encouraged by some of that movement.
Right.
And I think, if anything, it'll just make these two think a bit differently before wafting. But they've not been overly aggressive, have they? They can still sort of gauging what we've got here. What do you think, Tom Lock?
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see. So what else have we written down here now? Pitches.
Yeah.
Would you pick a pitch like? Do you think that this is the best pitch for England to win against Australia? I personally don't think it is.
Do you think this is a personally curated pitch? Do you think Stokes has prescribed this pitch?
Yeah, I think that this reminds me of the pitches that we asked for. Remember in 2015 with the ODIs when we Morgan decided to go really, really aggressive. And we started playing on flat pitches. This is like those pitches that we created then when we were scoring 400 in a day.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the best way to beat Australia in England.
It's hard to sort of say because we don't know what it'll do in a couple of days' time. We've seen a little bit of movement there. Rain, will it affect it? That's the thing. I mean, the pitches what we saw last summer were a little bit reminiscent of this, where they were flat for the first 2 to 3, 4 days, and then they really spiced up, didn't they, in the last couple of days, making a great finish.
Yeah.
So maybe that's exactly how it will work.
Yeah, you'd look good in that hat, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Khawaja getting the better of Anderson this over.
Runs,
yeah.
I feel like Khawaja's got a lot to
prove.
Yeah, I think Khawaja's almost bitter. Might be the wrong word, but I'll use it anyway. He's a bit bitter about how he's seen in terms of his performances in England.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he's probably what he feels like a Bairstow character at times. Is he plays at his best when he feels like he's got something to prove. I really kind of felt that came out when he was in the Test series, that Amazon documentary.
Yeah,
you could really see that he was the type of batsman that thrived when he felt like he had something to prove to people.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like both him and Warner have something to prove. So,
how fast would you make a change here to the bowlers? Would you get Ollie Robinson on? If nothing's happening, I think you've got to at least have 10 overs of these two, haven't you?
Yeah, I'd keep Anderson on for a spell, although Khawaja is getting into him a bit now. I think your best bet of getting a breakthrough is with Anderson in the first few overs. And I'd give Broad one more over and then bring Robinson on at that end.
Another question. Looks like Aussies are going to hit the ball gradually and get some quick runs, trying to put some pressure on the bowlers, hopefully get some edges. There's a chance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They get overconfident. But I think it's the pace more than anything. They don't seem to be phased. There's no phase of pace here. The guys, Anderson and Broad, don't need to teach these to suck eggs, but the lengths are going to be vital, aren't they?
Yeah, there's very little pace in this pitch. It's obviously dead. That's better. I think we do need to just lock in on a line and length, really.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. So how did you find the Aussie crowd? Are you looking forward to the Aussie crowd at Old Trafford? They wind you up a bit, don't they?
You can spot Aussies an absolute mile off. They're there in beach clothes, bucket hats, look like they just strolled off Bondi, and they jeer every single run, anything that goes Australia's way.
They love it late on in the game, don't they?
They do. They usually paralytic by about 2:00.
Yeah.
They are. Aussies are like daft Brits, aren't they? I've always associated them that way.
Yeah.
Like dafter Brits.
They are. I do think it's a good laugh.
Yeah, it's a good rivalry, isn't it? We've got lots of. I certainly know lots of Australians over the years through club cricket my dad's played, and this is a wonderful occasion. The Ashes. This is still for both sides. The biggest thing in cricket for sure.
Well, you was telling me earlier about Tim Wigmore saying that. He's gone. Oh, there's a wicket.
We've had a notification that there's a wicket gone. We are behind, so you'll see our reaction. We're going to have to pretend like we've not seen this. Thanks for the spoiler.
Hey, no, that's good stuff. It's interaction. We want interaction with the stream.
Right.
We are slightly behind.
So it's Broad to Warner. Let's see what happens here. Got him.
Oh, chopped him on.
Shots on. And Broad gets Warner again.
That's good. That's good for the series, because straight away in Warner's head, that starts to bring a little bit of continuity versus 2019. So
and it's like I said to you, opportunities are going to present themselves. You're going to get things like a bit uneven bounce, a chop on, a grubber.
Yeah.
You like the grubbers, don't you?
Well, I tell you what, it's felt like a bit of a stale morning so far, from a viewer's perspective. Hopefully not for the pod, but
No.
In perspective.
No. If there are any Mystic Megs out there that do know what's happening before us, please try not to tip us off.
No, tip us off if you want. No.
I want any interaction. This has got to be live. It's got to be
I don't know.
People are tuning in for our reactions.
Hey, Rob, we want interaction for God's sake.
Okay. Well, that sets interaction. You read Lifewaite's wine?
No, I've not. Have you?
No. It's one of those things, isn't it? The Harvey's had a big sort of kind of tie with England for a while, didn't they? They had that advert where it was all the wine pickers in Australia, and then every time they talked about England, they threw the grapes down in disgust. I have to say, as much as good as Sky's coverage of cricket, the build-up has been horrendous. It's not. You can't actually see any. I've not had any sort of
pod.
Like we said on the pod. You had Mark Butcher doing Johnny Cash songs, and you had Bob Dylan songs, and you had Bumble singing "We Don't Start the Fire." And it was just like a basic 10-second sort of, the Ashes are on. If you watch it, let us know.
Do you think there's a need to try and get the Ashes back on free-to-air TV at some point, even if it's just one test?
We spoke about this on previous pods. I don't think people's access to sport now is through terrestrial TV. There's ways and means to sort of watch it,
No, I'm saying a free-to-air service
for the Ashes.
Yeah,
for potentially,
one.
I think they have done over the other years. When England have been in World Cup final, I think they've teamed up with Channel 4.
Do you know what I mean? So when we think back to the 2005 Ashes, the Channel 4 coverage was one of the great things about that. As momentum started to build across the nation, people started watching, people started tuning in. Could we not have something like that for the Ashes each year? Just at least one Lord's Test match.
Potentially.
Feels like a great shame.
Right. So talk to me now. We've got that first wicket, 29 for 1. What if you're in the England camp now? You're in the field. What are you thinking?
Well, this is the moment. You've got to get Labuschagne early, haven't you? We've said it. The one thing that you don't want with this Australian side is Labuschagne and Smith both at the wicket. I think I'd rather get Labuschagne than Khawaja now. Have Khawaja and Smith. As soon as Labuschagne and Smith lock in, you're really worried. So I think we need to really put the pressure
dovetail
on.
Really well, don't they, in terms of speed?
I think Labuschagne is more of a conventional. He's obviously, broad, geeing up the crowd now. Labuschagne he does feel more penetrable. You feel like you can get him out in the sense of good players can get out in the first stage of their innings.
Yeah.
Smith doesn't feel like that. Smith feels like an alien.
Yeah.
Please getting told off though, being in the way.
Have we had another tip off here? This could be happening. Anyway, Broad's got his finger out. He's turned to this kind of rock star, hasn't he?
He's more of a myth than a player these days.
Yeah.
Isn't he? Oh, go on.
Oh! Brilliant. Oh, yes. And that's a golden duck. That's a golden duck for Marnus Labuschagne.
This is huge, this now.
You know what I'm thinking right now? This would be really good if the sound was on.
I know. We're going to have to invest in it. We're going to have to get some headphones, aren't we? We're going to have to get
what a
technology.
Start. What a start. Is there ever been, a more rhythm bowler than Stuart Broad?
Yeah, he is. I mean, in some ways, I'm moaning about Mark Wood not being in, and Stuart Broad is the one that I would have left out for Wood.
Yeah.
But he is the man for a big occasion. More than English sports people aren't usually people who thrive on the big occasion. Do you know what I mean? They usually wilt under the stress of the big occasion, whereas Broad really steps up. Such a character in English sport, really.
Dream start for England this morning, getting Marnus Labuschagne, one of the prize wickets early on.
So Smith and Khawaja in. This is exactly what we wanted.
David Lloyd, Bumble.
Yeah.
Don Bradman is placed on the pedestal of being one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
Probably is the greatest of all time. And he was nicknamed, or he was dubbed the Don.
Yeah.
David Lloyd went, we've got a new phenomenon.
Yeah.
It's the Steve.
The Steve
has entered the field.
The Steve's coming in now. A good catch from Bairstow as well.
Low down work. It's not carrying very far, is it?
There's going to be a lot of eyes on Bairstow's keeping this series.
Because
Folks is a cult hero in many ways for the cricket anorak.
Do you see Folks' catch of the day?
Yeah, brilliant catch. I mean, but that's
there's
what
no
Folks
questions,
does.
There?
There's no question. He's probably the best keeper in the world, really, isn't he? Smith comes in. As Ian Taylor says, they just need a Broad cluster. Imagine a Broad hat-trick now. The crowd's up.
Since we've not got our hat-trick, because I feel like we've been tipped off.
Yeah,
If it was a hat-trick,
you never know. They might be good tools.
But it's right. We want Steve Smith and Khawaja, like you asked for.
Come on, Broad. Breathing in. 2 leg slips. Leg slip and a leg gully, would you call that?
Yeah.
3 slips.
It's a quirky field, isn't it?
Yeah.
Again, the fingers out again. Come on.
must admit, in some ways, I think we're
The hat-trick ball for Stuart Broad to Steve Smith.
I think we're getting close to commentating here. We have to be careful.
Yeah,
Bad ball. Right. So, brilliant start this morning. In some ways, starts to justify some of the decisions we've made when it comes to Broad.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe justifying declaration that the lack is off the ball now.
Mm-hmm.
How long would it be until you get Moeen Ali into the picture?
I think we still go with pace for some time yet. Let's see what we can get with this ball. And I'd be bringing Ali on in scenarios where the run rate's coming a little bit higher. But I think Australia they're gonna camp for a little while now.
He's horrible. Do you know who Smith really reminds me of?
Who?
Oh, the type of batsman that I've hated as an England fan over the years. Amla. Dravid.
Yeah. Do
you know where it feels so? It just feels impossible. The impossible task.
Mm-hmm. You know, my alternative to like Steve Smith shots is looking back at Broad running when he gets wickets.
Yeah.
That itself brings presence. That itself intimidates batsmen because they've had it before. You know, the famous Trent Bridge where he did this. You know what I mean? Oh, Smith's one of those, isn't it? You know, he's so good when the ball's on the stumps. Is this his first boundary? No, Moeen Ali's going to cut it off, I think. But you know what I mean? Where do you bowl to him?
Yeah.
If you're too far off stump, he's going to, cut you through point.
He gets teams second guessing themselves.
He's so comfortable at moving across those stumps, which is why I've always thought is a couple of times where Steve Smith's got out is those leg gullies like you mentioned, where it's been a bit of a high delivery and he's just tried to steer it. That's been some familiar dismissals with Steve Smith. Let's see what Twitter's saying.
So one thing, when we were talking about the free-to-air television earlier, I think Ian Taylor says just before lunch for more. Probably a good shout.
Yeah, not a bad shout.
In an hour or so, bring him on, give him a few overs.
What you can't afford with Steve Smith is to get him cosy with pace. When I went to the Ashes in 2017, we had Jake Ball, Wokes, Anderson and Broad bowling at the Gabba. And Steve Smith became very, very comfortable all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was, the pace, it was just like being in the nets on a bowling machine because they were all relatively similar pace.
Yeah. I think in some ways the one advantage this team has got is Stokes, I suppose, is a bowler, thinks like a bowler, maybe sets some quirky fields. There's a real balance between innovation against Smith and discipline, having patience. You've got to. I think you've got to have your plans. You've got to set your plans out before the game. You can't start changing too much during the game and just stick to the plans you've got, I suppose. Sorry, I keep trying to make this point and then I'm getting off it. So we talked about free-to-air television earlier. Mm-hmm. One thing that Tim Wigmore said earlier that you were telling me about was this is a real window now where cricket is in the limelight.
That's right, yeah. I think Britain have got very limited prospects at Wimbledon, as we probably well know. So right now, if you're short of things to watch and cricket isn't usually your sport, drink this in because this is honestly the best it gets.
Yeah. I mean, this is what we all wait for.
Of course it is.
You know, this is what we do the pod for. We've been waiting for a year for this.
A non-cricket podcast that I'm fond of that focuses on a different international side said that the Ashes is indisputably better than any T20 franchise league. It's the stories that like when we spoke to Lawrence Booth. It's the stories you can tell. It's the ebbs and flows of the game.
Here we go.
Oh, we have another comment. Hi guys, this is
all the way from Sri
Sean,
Lanka.
all the way from Sri Lanka. Nice to see you, Sean. Thanks for joining us. Which part of Sri Lanka are you from? I must admit, when I went, I say this to you all the time, Galle is one of the most fantastic places you can visit.
Yeah.
It is a brilliant holiday destination. Food, weather, beaches, and cricket.
Yeah.
Doesn't get much better than that. Must return soon. I keep telling you to go.
Galle has to be up there in the top 3 or 4.
Oh, God, yeah. The fort,
top 5.
The old fort that they've got at the back. And if the Sri Lankans haven't got tickets, you can be sure to see them camped out on the top there.
What would be your top 5 test match venues?
Galle's up there.
Galle.
Yeah, certainly in the subcontinent. Galle, I think, beats any Indian ground that I've watched at. Pakistan ground, with all due respect. Galle's up there. I love Newlands, Cape Town, obviously. Yeah.
Cape Town's number 1. Nina asked me the other day, she said, what's the best test ground in the world?
Yeah.
I said, it's got to be Cape Town.
Yeah.
you know, the history, the brewery, the grass banks,
Yeah.
Table Mountain.
We were talking about when we were describing the Oval last week. What Cape Town has done again is keep its charm. I think it's modified a certain part of the ground now where they might be building like a hotel of some sort.
Yeah.
But the pavilion is still very traditional.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to have like corporate hospitality tickets one day, and I had a bit of a chat with Dale Steyn actually about people. But in there, you know, you've still got all the members in suits. It has a bit of a Lord's vibe to it.
Yeah.
And you know, a great place to watch cricket. And the Proteas and the Zaffers out there that go and watch the side are a great company. You know, really proud of the venue that they've got. Always quite hospitable people for sure.
Just 60 miles from Colombo.
Great.
Colombo's the capital, isn't it?
It is,
I
yeah.
work with a
you fly into Colombo and then do a long drive to go.
Yeah, I work with a lad who was born in Colombo.
Yeah.
Sure. Great part of the world.
The teardrop of India, they call Sri Lanka, and it's produced some of the game's greats.
Yeah, it has Sangakkara, Jayawarden.
Mullaratharan.
That's what Smith and Labuschagne really remind me of that era of Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
That had Jayawardener and Sangakkara at 3 and 4.
We've obviously, you know, both been fond of Sri Lanka. We've done podcasts, haven't we? We've done international focuses. I think soon we should probably look to Sri Lanka and invest in that. So, Sean, if your mates are listening, tune into the 212th Men. We'll definitely cover all things Sri Lanka at some point. Khawaja, a big shot.
I would say Sri Lanka's probably your second team, isn't it?
For sure.
You're always doing your Sri Lankan top.
Sanka, a friend of mine, brought back the T20 World Cup top, and the quality of these shirts is unbelievable. You know, South Asian's known for its quality materials, isn't it? But these are like really premium. It's the best thing to wear if you're coming home. You just want to chill out.
Yeah,
for sure. Strong there, Khawaja, isn't he?
Yes,
back foot
he is.
pull.
I don't think we should be going with the balls that we've got on this pitch. I don't think short stuff. I mean, there's a bit of a focus on Ben Stokes there. I can imagine what the commentators are saying.
Yeah,
saying that, you know, if we are going to bowl short to these bowlers, Stokes is probably going to be the one who has to do it. I just think we've got to stay away from that tactic for as long as possible.
Yeah,
because if there's one thing that will lose us this Test series, it's if Stokes gets injured in this match.
Yeah.
Ollie Pope's not going to be able to have the charisma and fortitude almost that Stokes has in.
He's still got that quiet. What are you laughing at?
I just saw something on your phone.
Okay. So, good evening, Australia. I'll be keen to hear from some Aussies. How are you finding this?
10-9 over there. Where was that? In Sydney?
That was Melbourne.
Melbourne.
But it's getting roughly similar, isn't it, I suppose?
It's a big country. It's different in Perth, and Perth's massively different.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's your favourite Australian ground?
It used to be Adelaide, but they've really made a mess of that in recent years, haven't they? Turned it into like an Aussie rules sort of ground. Like, is there still a banking there of some sort? Can you still sit on the grass banking?
There's a little bit of a banking. I'd probably go Sydney, me.
Yeah, Sydney's got that balance between. It's still a proper cricket ground, isn't it?
Yeah.
The MCG is good for the sheer amount of people it has on Boxing Day.
Yeah.
But when there's not a lot of people in there, it feels a bit echoey, a bit.
Yeah. I think that's the problem with Australian grounds, isn't it? Is when they're not playing England, they are just empty, cavernous shells, concrete blocks. I think that one thing that we've seen with the World Test Championship and now with this Ashes Test match is England probably is the best place to have Test cricket. It is where we have to think about if we're having international windows for Test cricket.
Contest between bat and ball is always there, isn't it?
There's always a contest between bat and ball. There's always full houses.
Weather variants.
The weather plays its part.
Yeah.
I mean, look at this morning, you know, in many ways, you're probably seeing different conditions because of the weather. Mm-hmm. Difference between yesterday and today. Smith's moaning a little bit.
He's not happy. Someone's behind the sight screen, isn't he?
Is it that, or is it Broad running on the pitch?
Stokes has just said, I think, ball a bit wider.
Don't know. No, he's moving the field around. Anyway, I can imagine Smith's infuriating to bowl against. Will
he thrive off this position now? Australia looking a little bit delicate, 37 for 2. Do you feel like he feels this is his moment, this is his job? I mean, let's get in dreamland. If England get Smith now, do you feel that the obviously England are on the other hand, but how psychologically how big is that having Smith and Labuschagne in the shed so cheaply?
If you get Smith now, you're what's the best plan to get Smith out?
Is that a question there?
I think statistics show. I mean, we haven't got any of these. So this is where Jack Leach would have come in. That he's got a worse record. He's obviously got a great record against everyone, against left arm bowling. But I think that realistically, is that 5th, 6th line just trying to, bowl in the channel, 4th, 5th stump. A 4th stump to a normal batsman is it? Yeah, you've got to go a little bit wider to him, haven't you? Broad's talked about bowling the outswinger to Smith, and I do think that that's the right ball. But then, of course, you can't become predictable, and those pads are always. I don't know.
Like I said earlier, I think. Well, just to add to that, when you're talking about spin, I think Ashwin had his number a few times. Ashwin actually, I recall hearing, stayed up in his hotel and watched videos of Steve Smith batting. But for me, I think he's shown a bit of suspectness to the shorter ball, which he's tried to steer to like leg gully sort of position. I think that could be a route, but it's whether you can generate the bounce on this pitch is the main thing.
And I think that's the problem with the bowling lineup we've picked. Without Mark Mudd in there, you can't just mix it up and go short against him and try and kind of bring an edge through that adrenaline. I'm just going to have you talk for a minute. I'm going to have a look for the best record against Smith.
For sure. I mean, this is dream start for England. Australia are not scoring at the rate England scored at. There's still plenty of runs to go at. England are a couple of wickets away from being really in the ascendancy here. The pressure is on the Aussies.
So, best record against Steve Smith is Neil Wagner, a guy who bowls a lot of short balls. So that comes into
heavy ball man, wasn't he?
Yeah. Who's our bowler who's more similar to Wagner? In some ways, it's Sam Curran, isn't it? Which is a bit. I wouldn't want Sam Curran in.
Stokes?
I just don't want Stokes bowling.
Yeah. There's a fear there, isn't there?
Yeah.
You could say anything. You could say that he's just had a brand new knee put in and he feels brilliant, and you'd just still be worried about his knee, wouldn't you?
Yeah, so the Telegraph said, plan A, target the corridor. So that's what we talked about. 4th, 5th stump. It's probably a 5th and 6th stump. There we are, yeah. Outside there. Broad's outswing ploy. I think we're seeing that now. That's plan B. Plan C, nasty, brutish short stuff. So Neil Wagner's got the best record against him.
We don't have Jofra Archer.
We don't have the pace for that. I don't think we have any bowlers other than Stokes who could do that. And then finally, plan D, send for left arm spin. So Jack Leach's injury is kind of a little bit of a concern there. I don't think Moeen Ali will cause Smith too many problems, I must admit. He's a very good player of spin. So that all sounds a bit hopeless.
Yeah, so it's essentially, we just got to hope that he gets himself out or he gets bored.
The one problem...
The worst thing is, even if we get Khawaja, you don't want to repeat where you've got tail enders just sort of, like you say, just keeping Smith company.
Yeah.
Well, we might just have to bowl everybody else out. That's another option.
Well, I think that is the problem with Australia at times is that even if you get Khawaja now and you add them 45 for 3, or even make it 50 for 3, with Smith there's still that psychological thing of they could get away from us any time. We could see a repeat of the Edgbaston 2019. But in some ways, you've just got to put that to your back of your mind. You've got to bowl your best ball.
For sure.
In terms of...
I've just had a message from one of my Aussie friends saying, I'm watching this attack, and if you have a wicket like this when it's not overcast, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
That's all well and good, but I'm sorry, today is overcast.
Yeah. Well, it feels like it's going to brighten up this afternoon, or at least that's what the weather suggests.
Yeah.
It feels like this is the time, this is our window to really get into them.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're halfway through the first session. It's been a good morning so far. How have you found the live pod?
I'm enjoying it. I've just had a question saying, why are you behind? Actually, why are we behind?
I think it's just a case of we're obviously streaming this through...
stream issues.
Streaming this through Now TV.
Yeah.
I think obviously that's probably the only way you can stream it through. I don't think you have to say other streaming services are available, but they are. And yeah, I think that's just a case of the technology that we've got up in our cheap attic.
Mm-hmm. I think a change is imminent. I think we could see Anderson come off for Ollie Robinson soon. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that Stokes will surprise us. I could imagine Ali coming in soon. He's not scared of bringing the spinners into the attack early. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens.
Anderson's pace is still good, isn't he? Despite being 40, he's never really dropped pace. Is that just due to his action, due to how he's refined himself over the years?
He's just I mean, I'm scared to death that Anderson's going to get injured this series.
Mm-hmm.
But he's just a real professional, isn't he?
Yeah.
A real athlete. And there was a lot of criticism in the early 2005 to 2007 era of his career, where everyone wanted to change his action. People felt like he fell away a bit with his head ducked down. But I think
he was quite slingy as a kid, wasn't he? He bowled very fast, but it was a bit, like you say, all over the place.
But I think in some ways that what we've seen from cricket since then is less tinkering with people's actions, and sometimes your action is your action. And what feels most natural to you might not be perfect, but if it works best for you, and that's how you're going to avoid injury, then not tinkering too much with young bowlers can sometimes be advantageous, as well as trying to follow the textbook. I suppose one thing that's probably really prolonged Anderson's career is specialising in Test cricket, moving away from one-day stuff. I think that's something that all cricketers will probably do over the coming years. I mean, where does Anderson go down really for you in terms of the greats of English sport? He must be right up there now.
For sure. I think, there's always... He's obviously surpassed Glenn McGrath in recent years, and people say, well, he's not got the skill of McGrath. But I think, he's not as McGrath could do it in all countries, all this kind of thing. I think, Jimmy Anderson's...
Jimmy Anderson's record is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, even Australia, if his wickets aren't there, his economy is still fantastic, isn't it? So it's a misconception about him being ineffective in countries other than England. And I think one thing you've got to look at, the fact he's been able to maintain this and shows no signs of retiring, really, in essence, is his longevity. His longevity is a factor which makes him one of the best.
You feel like
his durability.
In some ways, with Anderson, he could go on and break all records if he could stay fit. If he did a Darren Stevens and played till he was 45, he'd still be good enough at the Test level. It's remarkable, really. It's almost harks back to, and you tried not to use football references on cricket podcasts.
But
he's almost becoming a Stanley Matthews-esque player. This lad could play well into his 40s at the highest level. We've got a comment here, Harry Brook. So I have to keep an eye out for
what's going to happen next.
So in terms of Anderson, Brook's bowling.
Oh.
Wow.
What does Brook bowl? He's seam up, he
bowls a bit of medium pace. I think he has got one Test wicket last summer.
What's the thinking behind this? Is this Stokes again playing mind games?
It is. I mean, there's a little bit here. He's got one wicket, averages 25 with the ball, 1 for 25. There's a little bit here of don't be too clever, because that looks crap. That looks absolutely awful. God.
Oh.
Because if you get Smith in here, right, if we give him a few throwdowns, he could really,
Well, a lot of batsmen say that the most terrifying times of the batting is when a part-timer comes on.
Unless it would just Broad's changing ends.
Potentially.
Let's hope. I mean, I would have preferred an over of spin, personally.
Is he trying to cut these?
I think he's bowling dibbly-dobbly 68 mile an hour in swing.
How fast would you bowl now?
Don't know.
Speed gun you now. I'll let you warm up a little bit. You can get your arm going.
I don't think.
And I'll speed gun. Oh, God, tell me, give me a miles per hour.
63 mile an hour.
Off a full run up?
Yeah, probably less than that now. I haven't bowled for about 10 years. I would like to have a net this summer.
Hey, I'll tell you what, he's not enjoying this, Steve Smith.
I would like to have a net this summer.
We can have a net. A very low. I have this recurring dream. We talked about recurring dreams where I'm asked to play cricket and I rock up and realise I've no whites in kit.
Yeah.
And I'm scrambling around for spare parts.
See, my worst nightmare would be having whites in kit.
That's a psychological problem. That didn't Triscoffic have a dream where he couldn't put his pads on or something?
Yes, suffered with anxiety.
Goodness me.
Yeah, really rolling.
Very stressful sport, cricket, isn't it?
Right. So Anderson's bowling average over the last few years. So in 2023, average is 17.
Right.
World class. 2022, 19. 21, 20, average is 21.
Yeah.
20. I mean, in the last 4 years of his Test career, he's averaged 20 or below with the ball. Good take by Perstow, that.
Yeah.
Good keeping.
Is that a wide?
I don't like this. I don't want us messing around too much. It's not a testimonial.
Wonder what Duckett bowls.
Here we go.
Yeah.
How fast?
Are we just maybe that's the thing. Maybe we just have to completely mindfuck Steve Smith.
How fast do you reckon you could bowl?
I don't know. I go underarms to start off with, and then just see how I get on. Like I told you, I developed the yips in junior cricket, so it's something I've got to contend with.
I reckon your dad could bowl faster than us both combined.
My dad did make a comeback actually a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. Pulled a groin in the process.
Lancashire over
60s. Yeah. I think he was steaming him. He might be able to tell us more if he's still tuning in. Tado, if you're watching us, tell us what you clocked if there was a speed gun knocking about.
Lancashire were playing at South.
Is that a maiden, by the way? Or he bowled a wide, didn't he?
Bowled a wide, yeah. No, I don't know. Fuck knows. I wasn't paying attention to that crap.
That just happen, or were we just like a little bit high on coffee? I think at the drinks break we should generally have a drinks break and a coffee. Do you have any pastries in? But you don't, do you? Never accommodate me.
I don't have pastries in.
What sort of house is this?
Do you have pastries in?
Yeah. There's many supermarkets which are readily available to get fresh pastries. Lidl being one of them, which you live 5 minutes away. A simple butter croissant.
You know, what is it?
I mean, what type?
You know, like when have you had your best pastry?
Italy have done some good ones.
No, I mean like a time and a place.
Well, that's the time and the place. Italy. I was in
broadly in Italy.
Well, I was in Sicily, Marsala.
Right. Yeah, and what was it?
It was a pastry. It was a croissant with cheese, mozzarella cheese and ham inside. Delicious.
It is quite a good lunch, isn't it?
I had it for breakfast.
Did you?
Yeah. You get up later, don't you? So that is your kind of breakfast lunch.
I hope Robinson's not injured or something.
The followers are racking up here. These are dizzy heights for us.
I know, yeah. Imagine if Robinson's actually injured and Brooks our third seamer.
Could be.
That would be very England in the Ashes.
I've got it. Ollie Robinson could be the second choice spinner.
Yeah.
What was that all about in the Ashes? They were dark times, weren't they?
Yeah, they were.
Thank you for everyone that's joined us, by the way. I've said this before, but if you've just joined the live stream, there's a place you can leave questions. Ask me or him any questions. If you've got a specific question for either me or Bot, make sure you signal that on the question. We'll to answer it.
A great comment or, great feedback from people would be if they'd like to see any interviews, what type of interviews, what type of topics they'd like to see us discuss. Get a bit of feedback as to what people want from the pod going forward over the Ashes. We'll try our best to bring it.
I'd also like people to guesstimate what they think me and you would clock on miles per hour on a speed gun. So if any of you got any suggestions, looking at our physique and the way we are, what you think we'd be able to bowl.
It'd be good to know, who do you reckon is going to be top scorer in this Ashes?
Harry Brook.
In the series, do you reckon? I think Brook leaves some runs out there.
His dismissal yesterday were freakish, wasn't it?
I felt a bit like Jeffrey Boycott, to be honest, because I thought we were a bit dozy.
He should have kind of just like leaned back a little bit and let the ball hit him on the back.
Well, I know.
What?
I was just looking at how many people watching.
I know, it's one of those. You might need glasses soon.
Yeah, I don't know.
You could look like, I don't know. You'd be like David Gower.
Ian always says that if I had glasses, I look like the technician off James Bond.
Yeah.
What's he called?
Dr. Evil.
Q.
Yeah. Switch out.
Go on.
What crap film reference?
I know. I can't ad-lib me. That's your role.
Oh, God. Who's that in the bid for Australia? Renshaw. He's threatened to make an impact. Are we on drinks break? Are we coming off a rain? What are we doing?
I think Smith's. Yeah, it looks like drinks.
Drinks for England or drinks for...
We can't have a drinks break because we're so behind.
That's true. Probably 5 down, aren't we? Can at least have some more water.
Yeah.
Cheers. So keen to get everyone's thoughts on that sort of first passage of play. Obviously, England's for obvious reasons. You would say, though, that they're not created wickets in the form of England's bowling. Labuschagne's was a bit of a pushy sort of shot.
A good ball.
You think? Was it just a bit handsy?
It was just a very English dismissal, wasn't it? Australians going hard outside off stump with their hands, getting I suppose Warner's was a little bit unlucky chopping on.
Yeah.
I don't think we've bowled brilliantly this morning, but we've got 2 wickets.
Mm-hmm.
You'd probably say the game is in England's hands right now.
Yeah.
I think I don't know whether the declaration was justified, but we're definitely getting away with it right now. It feels like, I mean, all series we're going to talk about this, but Smith is the wicket. It's just going to be an absolute nightmare.
I'm going to try and get some of the views on bringing Brook on, what the thoughts are behind that.
So I suppose my top scorer for this series, I'd say, I do fancy a good series from Root. I do think Root will have a good series, not having the captaincy burden. I think Root was never a natural captain, really, was he? You know,
he was the best player.
He's the best player in it. I think you see that in the one-day stuff, that he really suits kind of having the pressure off and being, you know, the best player in the side, but not being the designated leader, you know, leading through performances rather than leading through a kind of discipline. I think it'd be great to see Anderson go past Warne.
Yeah.
Warne is a big miss, isn't he, in this series? Imagine Warne watching Bazball, how he'd feel about that.
He was always one step ahead, Warne, wasn't he? Like, he was big on the stage when the IPL first came about.
Yeah.
You know, he was the player coach kind of thing for Rajasthan Royals, didn't he? They were a bit of a dad's army kind of team, weren't they?
Yeah.
And against all odds, they came out victorious. Massively missed Shane Warne. And I think Sky's commentaries, you know, suffered as a result, really. They lost a lot of big characters in, like, the, you know, the last couple of years for different reasons. So, you know, sadly, Bob Willis now, who's obviously the day's dedicated to, we've lost him from Sky's
Holdings
team.
Holdings
moved on. David Lloyd, Bumble, Warne. There's a lot of big personalities, which is, I think, this guy on screen, on our screen anyway, now, Stuart Broad, I think when he eventually retires, I think there's a natural succession there of him to go into Sky, isn't there? I always say, though, you know, cricket commentary itself is, for me, absolute streets ahead of any other sport.
Yeah.
In terms of coverage.
You know, what's your thoughts on the current Skybox? Because obviously it's a bit of a melting pot of different characters these days. You've got the stalwarts of Athers and Hussain.
Yeah.
You've got the newbies of Peterson. Ponting's obviously representing the Aussie side.
Yeah.
With Mark Taylor, who's a stalwart.
Yeah.
Who else? Dinesh Karthik, I think he's in there.
Yeah.
I don't mind Dinesh Karthik.
Well, you've got a real bugbear with Indian commentators, haven't you, really?
Yeah.
I'll name some to you. So, Dada.
I think he's
too Ganguly.
Yeah, he's too involved in the IPL.
Okay. Sunil Gavaskar.
ICCI. Gavaskar's my worst. I think he's the worst commentator in the world.
Reasons?
I think he's incredibly biased. I think he thinks that he's the best player who's ever played the game.
There's an argument he is.
I don't think he is. And I just think he just doesn't add any value at all. Gavaskar's the worst commentator in the world.
What have you thought of Simon Dool in recent years?
Dool, yeah.
Yeah.
Dool.
The thing is, he's in England at the minute, and I don't think we've heard him yet on Sky. Is he going to be appearing?
I could imagine him showing his face. One thing I like it when there's a neutral commentator on the panel. You know, Holding represented that for a long time for Sky, didn't he? He was always here every English summer, and kind of gave that neutral perspective, which I think is needed.
Yeah.
It feels like Sangakkara and Dool are the two that Sky use now. I know that Sangakkara's working on this series. I like Sangakkara.
Brilliant. Such a gentle voice, hasn't he?
Brilliant cricket mind. He's got the voice for commentary.
Sangakkara is going to... he's not an old man now, but he will stand the test of time in cricket commentary, won't he? He'll be there, and he'll be that sort of go-to wisdom because he was such a genius.
You know, and
very nice man as well.
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of...
Our Sri Lankan followers on this channel Sangakkara, I know, is an absolute god.
Yeah. There's a lot of intelligent cricket minds out there, but I know that Sangakkara is often referenced as one of the great minds of Sri Lankan cricket.
We've had a non-Ashes question just before Ollie Robinson starts his first over of day 2. It goes, what do you think about the World Cup in India, and could IPL players benefit from ideas that they have on Indian pitches?
I don't. Obviously, India will be the absolute favourites for that test, for that World Cup.
The pressure's on India because they are, again, showing signs that they can't get it over the line in an ICC tournament.
I think they're a bit of a mixed side at the moment, aren't they? they've got some older players like Kohli, Rohit Sharma that aren't at the peak of where they once was. They've got the new cohort of your Ishan Kishans and Shubman Gills coming through.
Yeah.
They've got some of the KL Rahuls that they always like to fit in. And then the bowlers like Ashwin and Jadeja are getting on a bit, and Bumrah's struggled for form. I don't think that they're in the best form going into the World Cup. It's obviously been a lot of controversy around the World Cup in terms of releasing the schedule. I think it's only just been, is the Asia Cup been released now? I don't know if the World Cup's even been released yet.
So much politics around it.
It's just not good enough, really, at the moment in cricket. The amount of politics that's going on. A World Cup is a showpiece event, and it's in less than 6 months' time, and we still don't know who's playing who when. How are we supposed to get fans? You know, if you're the Indian Tourism Board, it's a massive competition that's going on. How do you expect anybody outside of India to be really attending matches when, you know, we don't even know the schedule now?
Indeed.
The ICC need to pull the finger out in more ways than one when it comes to cricket.
Just commenting, Ollie Robinson, his pace is way down here. He's at 77 just then, clocked.
I don't mind that though, because I feel like Robinson is the McGrath Pollock type of bowler. He doesn't rely on his pace. It's unerring accuracy, nipping it around. I suppose it's just the lack of variation really in this attack, isn't it? Is that you bring on off Anderson and Broad, and you bring on very similar bowlers once Robinson comes on. I think there will be time to look at Ali soon. I know that we said probably about 20-1 bringing him on.
Just before lunch.
Next 15 minutes or so, you're going to want to get Ali into the attack.
We've got about an hour before lunch, you think?
50 minutes, 1 o'clock, I'd say.
Yeah.
So
you don't get as much cricket as you used to, do you? I think.
Well, there's been lots to talk about this around slow over rates.
I think that the ideas they've brought to sort of kind of improve that, instead of, you know, finding people and all this kind of stuff, it's adding runs to the bat other team. That could be a solution.
No solutions have really worked so far, have they? I don't know. I think that players just know they can get away with it, don't they?
Yep.
They're not asked.
It's not a one kind of nation thing, is it? Every team seems to sort of struggle with this.
I mean, you see, it's not just Test cricket either. You see it in the IPL. IPL games last 4.5 hours now for 40 overs. It's not great. So
we just had a comment come in, actually, a personal sort of tweet saying the Ashes itself and how big it is for cricket fans in England, and how it brings sort of probably the someone who isn't over invested in the sport. Yeah, the casual fan, you know, part-time's like a bit of a harsh thing, because it is one of those events where, like you say, if football's your main sport and cricket's perhaps not, the Ashes is always at the forefront. If you ask someone, do they like cricket, they go, well, I watch the Ashes, don't I?
Yeah.
This is here to stay, isn't it? No matter what happens to Test cricket.
Yeah, I think even if Test cricket dies, you'll have the Ashes will become the Ryder Cup, won't it, of cricket. It'll always be on.
Culturally, I always say to you, but I wonder whether, as a nations, Australia and England, T20's had long enough to sort of find its roots in popular culture. And I still think there's an argument that in these two countries, they're not buying it. They don't. It just doesn't. It's still gimmicky. It's still just sort of like a watered down version of the purest form.
It's really interesting in terms of the markets of cricket, in the sense of, I think most Test nations aren't. Oh,
Moeen Ali's
coming on. Most Test nations aren't enamoured with T20, but the one Test nation with 1 billion people love T20. And therefore, I think the global game is always going to be dominated by T20. It obviously suits player lifestyle, and I have no issue with that. We'd all get paid more to work for less. But England and Australia are always going to see this as the pinnacle, no matter what. I mean, you look at this ground now; it's full. And it'll be full for 5 days. There'll be 25 days of cricket this summer.
It's an occasion, not just a match. Yeah,
sell out throughout. It's massive. I mean, this is big as well. Ali coming on. No.
We said a comment about Robinson. He's bowling within himself. So you think, is that comment suggesting that he's got more in the tank if he needs to?
I think he can crank it up. He's just not. He's not a bowler that relies on pace, is he? You know, he's a classic English bowler. You said earlier he's an Angus Fraser, really. I think what's most important with Robinson is that he has fitness to come back time and time again, and it doesn't become docile later on in the day. But Robinson is what he is.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're going to pick him, you know what you're going to get.
Early signs say not loads of turn for Moeen Ali, but bowling good lengths.
I think for Ali at the moment, it's. I don't think Australia are going to come at him here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're going to be overly aggressive with the position they're in. I'd be surprised if these two batsmen are aggressive against Ali at this point.
Yeah,
I don't think it's their nature.
Skewed in the air.
I think it's about having a good start.
Who's that?
I think it's just a young lad. Just like a 12th man. Imagine being 12th man. That'd be grim.
I find the most straightforward kind of things to do with the field extremely high pressure. You know, if it was like a fine leg and one was trickling down, I think I'd long barrier even if it was like at 1 mile an hour.
I just get really told off me. One of our friends, Jack, his dad was the captain of second team when I played second team, and he used to tell me off for my field.
Wow, because you were pissed.
There were times when we had some late nights.
Is Broad struggling here?
I think he's just been off. Get refreshed after bowling.
Sorry, go on.
There were times that we'd obviously been out the night before and weren't in the best way, but
more
than anything, I was just crap at fielding. I was just really bad. I couldn't catch unless something was smashed in my face. And then life-saving instincts took over and I miraculously caught the ball. I just couldn't catch to save my life.
Yeah, it's fucking hard, that ball, isn't it?
It's just grim. It's not particularly the hardness of the ball. It's when it's skied up in the air and you've got all that time to think about it.
And if you've had a few pints, that ball can sort of
not having a few pints.
I know, but if you had and you were feeling you were hungover the next day, that ball can become 6 balls at once. It's like when you play golf and you put the ball on the tee and you just sort of seeing like you're looking for a kaleidoscope.
Yeah. So what do you reckon? Good start?
Brilliant start, isn't it? To have, the best batsman, one of the best batsmen out, and Steve Smith right in the thick of things. We can just we're not expecting him to give his wicket away cheap. So where he's at now, I'm very comfortable with. They're not scoring at a quick rate. England seem to be, not scared of putting ideas forward. So let's just see if opportunities present themselves. As I said, I've backed Ollie Robinson to be England's, England's highest wicket taker in this Ashes series. I just think his record at home is phenomenal. Perhaps this pitch doesn't suit him as much, but I think he's certainly going to have lots to say.
I think we've seen with Robinson throughout his Test career is actually he can find ways to do it. Although it's very, he's very consistent in his method.
Yeah.
But his method is reliable on all pitches. He bowled well in Pakistan.
Mm-hmm.
McGrath was a very similar bowler, really, a line bowler who's, around the 80 mile an hour mark, who just looked to hit the top of off, day in, day out. Bowling's very similar.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's a worry, Ollie Robinson, on a pitch like this.
For sure.
Pick up his stats.
You've seen a stat come through that Australia are going at 2.21 and over.
Yeah.
So significantly slower than England. This is what we expected, though.
It really is kind of Mourinho versus Pep, this, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
very different ideology in the ways to play the game.
Yeah. Or I'd say more Mourinho versus Klopp.
Yeah.
Klopp's more direct attacking, isn't he?
England, Bazball would be Klopp, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
We know the process. Stick with the process.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Right.
By the way, you're going to thank me for bringing this fan because it saved us. It'd be way too hot here without the fan. Cheap Tack comes to the rescue.
Yeah, no, it's a very good addition to the TTM attic.
Good lines from Ollie Robinson.
So yeah, Robinson in his Test career, 21, average of 21. Can't get much better than that.
Yeah. Indisputable.
Let's see what his record is by opponent. So his average against, it's a batting average. Average against Australia is the worst in his career. He averages 26 with the ball. It's not by no means bad. He's got a great record against India, 21. 23 against New Zealand, 21 against Pakistan, and 15 against South Africa.
How many tests has he played?
Played 17 tests and he's got 66 test wickets.
And I think those figures will be smudged a little bit by that disastrous Ashes tour, weren't they?
Yeah.
Where it was COVID and it
ways,
was void apparently as well.
In many ways, averaging 26 in that series, going at 2.6 runs and over, it's a miracle.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have seen much of that from the rest of the bowlers who went out there.
Yeah.
I think that's got to be the tactic for England, for the most part, is just, keep Smith honest outside his off stump. We can be disciplined. The weather looks like, it's going away now. The sun's starting to come out. It's going to get a bit easier to bat on. You've just got to be patient, really.
Do you think Australia have got more in the tank in terms of how fast they can score? Do you think they're holding out for the conditions to get a bit better, for the bowlers to get a bit tired?
Well, I actually think in some ways the first person I saw really play this Bazball approach in this era of cricket was Travis Head. He seemed to have a bit of a renaissance in his Test career when he just came in 2019 and just started smashing it about. And ever since kind of took that approach and decided that's how he was going to play Test cricket. I'm not saying England have been inspired by it, but I think it'd definitely be a reference point that you can definitely play Test cricket like that in modern cricket. I think just to answer your question. So I think if Head comes in, say they're 60 for 3, I think you'll see a counter-attack from Head. I don't think he's going to die wondering.
Interesting thing I've just picked up. You've got a trio there of Bairstow, Root and Stokes. That they're a similar era of people arrived on the scene at the same sort of time. So I think there's a bit of a trust network there, in which they all wanted to be together, which was almost, look, it was always going to be hard to exclude Johnny Bairstow from the Test side, but I'm thinking that's a major part of England's engine and how it operates. They might make decisions as a free. They might consult each other. They're all very good cricket brains, played a lot of first-class cricket, a lot of franchise cricket, a lot of, international cricket.
Yeah, I think if you look at Australia, obviously got loads of experience in their lineup. We don't need to go through that. But actually, Moeen Ali coming back into the side with the bowling attack that England have picked with that Anderson and Broad. England also have a lot of experience. These are two really experienced lineups who've come up against each other a lot now. Moeen Ali's, captained England. Root's captained England. Stokes has captained England. Broad's captained England.
Yeah.
There should be enough for us to kind of start to work each other out. I think that's one of the great kind of nuances about this series is they've played each other so much now. This is the climax very much of a lot of these players' careers. There's a lot of players now. This is their last Ashes series.
I think that's a lot of it because we've got like a nice twilight era of lots of players, haven't we, in this Ashes series, which has allowed it to come together and be so eagerly anticipated.
There's a lot of respect there. I think that's why he's starting to see a little bit of the nastiness and competitiveness kind of, or overtly competitive nature kind of.
I think what's really good as well is a lot of these players have been through the rough and the smooth. So even if you look at people who've been highly successful in Ashes series like Steve Smith, he'll have also been in times where Australia have toured to England and England have been dominant in the Michael Clarke era. Same with Jimmy Anderson. Jimmy Anderson and Stuart Broad experienced ecstasy when they went over to Australia and won that series in 2011. But, it's what are you laughing at?
Just
ecstasy thing.
Yeah.
Not the drug.
Anderson on ecstasy when they went over to Australia.
Yeah, you see what I mean? There's it's never been plain sailing for a lot of these players. It epitomises Ashes cricket, the ups and downs of it all. Moeen Ali, by the way,
settled in a little bit there, hasn't he?
Yeah, looking a really good LBW shot for Khawaja if he gets the right length.
Khawaja started to come down to the pitch to him there a few times, showing a bit of intent. I think that actually brings Ali into the game a little bit. I think now it is just about England settling in. It's not going to be easy on this pitch. In some ways, I could imagine it feels like the kind of game now where Australia will be looking for about 400.
Yeah.
They've not had the best of starts. They'll be trying to get to parity, and then it'll become an innings versus innings match. If it becomes an innings versus innings match, we both go into the second innings pretty level. I think that brings the game into England's hands.
I do, because I think England have the ability to score quickly, and they could put on a very, very daunting total very fast.
Yeah.
And then as this pitch deteriorates, it'll become harder and harder to chase scores down. There's no doubt about it. England winning the toss was a huge advantage for England, wasn't it?
I think you saw that in Cummins' face yesterday. As soon as England had won the toss, you could see the disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't happy. I do think that Cummins is a captain that can be rattled.
Yeah,
I do think this.
We saw him at the Oval,
side,
didn't we? And that morning session of day 3 when India were coming back into the game, we saw him kick the ball away in disgust a little bit. And I think crowds affect Aussies quite a lot. If this crowd gets a few beers down them as the day goes on, I think that could be a big impact.
They're a very passionate side. Off to golf. Got a viewer off to golf.
Viewer off to golf. Godspeed.
Are you playing golf today?
No, with the warmth we've had in this country, the courses at the minute, especially where we play, is
tricky,
perilous.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Everywhere is fraught with danger. You can't even a good golfer will struggle because keeping the ball in play is so difficult. Yeah. I just thought I'd spend my day with my heart rate down watching Test cricket.
Yeah.
Ashes cricket. What have you thought of Robinson's spell this morning?
I think it is Robinson, isn't it? 80 mile an hour, line and length. And you know what you're going to get. It's as a pessimistic English fan that I am, I will not be comfortable until Smith's out. I think that we will have to bring Stokes in at some point to bowl, just to give a little bit of a change up. I think we should only bowl him in spells of about 4 overs.
Smith, like I said, Smith will get cosy. I think you've got to try and confuse Smith a little bit with different ideas. No doubt about it. When they were sitting down doing strategy meetings, we've just seen the bumper go there. They'll have worked out many different ploys in which to get Steve Smith out. Here's the prize wicket.
Yeah,
and that's why I think we've seen quirky things already, like Brook come onto ball.
That was a bit mad.
I enjoyed it though, didn't you?
Yeah, it's fine.
Brian Lara cricket sort of thing.
Yeah, it is Brian Lara cricket stuff.
Yeah. Do you remember the sort of the mechanism in that game was like a big circle where you pitch the ball, and if the bowler was McGrath, it was like this, a tiny little circle.
If the bowler
was like Strauss, it'd be like this huge like centre circle football thing, knowing that it could land pretty much anywhere. That's the kind of thing you got with Brook.
Stokes' tactics are very Brian Lara cricket, aren't they? He used to score about 1,000 runs in a day on Brian Lara cricket and then bowl everyone out. But you can't argue with that.
Probably got about half an hour to lunch, do you reckon?
Yeah. It's a big half an hour.
Yeah.
2 wickets here in England are well in it. 50 runs for Australia, and I'd say they go in slightly more.
They're going to get 50 runs in half an hour, are they?
No, they're not. True. 25 runs, 75 for 2. Going to lunch, 75 for 2.
I'd say still England, maybe. Just about. Been very nip and tuck since the start yesterday, wasn't it? Another great pull from Khawaja, I think. Yeah,
he's great off his hip. I won't bowl there, especially at Robinson's pace.
Very interesting with Khawaja, isn't it? Because he's one of those players where I'm kind of not in like a nasty way. I'm expecting him to fail in England. He didn't cross my mind as a threat when this series started.
Yeah. I think that is the problem with this Australian batting lineup that we did see at the World Test Championship final is they do have threats all the way down. You're going to have to play really well to beat these lot.
Mm-hmm.
If you were picking your all-time combined Australian England baseball lineup, who would be your 11?
Can you ask me that question in a minute?
Right,
because I've had a tip off.
Right, go on then.
Should we just enjoy this over?
Yes. We're going to enjoy it.
I hope so. Let's see. So Molinari to Steve Smith. Of course, a contest we didn't see in the last Ashes in Australia.
No, he didn't. Did he play much in the 2019? I feel like
he played one game and then didn't he take a break from Test cricket?
Right. Okay.
After this Test match.
He's not had a great kind of... he's not had a great experience against Australia, has he?
Molinari to Steve Smith.
Nope. Hey, this is great,
Yeah, our tip-off has gone playing golf, so I think we can actually be in the moment. Not much turn going on. Let's see what happens.
Go on, this is your moment to really commentate. Flicked it off the leg.
Yeah. Typical Steve Smith fashion.
I tell you what, my defining memory of Steve Smith in the Ashes is when Leach got him out I think he got him out stumped.
Stumped or caught for slip, wasn't it?
Yes, I can't remember. At Old Trafford off a no ball.
Yeah.
And that was really kind of the defining thing of that series, of just the impossible nature of getting Steve Smith out when you're struggling. He's bowled well so far, Ali.
Yeah.
I think
kept it very tight, hasn't he?
Kept it tight. He said that he wasn't a holding bowler in the pre-Ashes in his pre-Ashes press conference, but he has held an end up for us this this morning. We're just waiting now for the inevitable.
I mean, I say this, it might just be a bit of bluff.
Who's your tip off? Your dad?
No, WhatsApp group chat.
All right. They are some shaky characters. That's a good shot from Khawaja.
Yeah.
I don't mind that though, if they're going to come at Ali, because it will create opportunities.
Recall Khawaja played brilliantly in Pakistan, didn't he?
Yeah.
So I think a slower delivery may suit him.
So a tweet from George DeBell this morning of, I think it's the Cricketer magazine, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
There have already been as many maidens in the Australian innings as there were in England's. We'd had 7 overs.
Goodness me.
So that really goes to show how England have managed to control Australia's scoring rate compared to England's scoring rate. We must be really behind here.
We're really behind on nothing's happening.
Yeah.
Could be the latter.
I think it's the latter. I think you've got some dodgy sources. However, has to be said, that was a good over from Ali there.
For sure. Keeping it tight. So we're going to stay with you guys right up till the lunch break, I believe.
Yeah.
And then we're going to depart, get on with our days. But I've really enjoyed this. I think we're going to have to do it for the next one, aren't we?
Yeah.
Should we suit up for Lords?
It might be a bit. If the weather's still like this, it'll be a bit warm
not in this attic, yeah.
Yeah, in this attic.
Got a bit of feeling from Stuart Broad. What's your plans for lunch? Sandwich?
Yeah. What do you reckon Edgbaston lunch is like?
We could do that. You could cook for me like you do during the week.
Yeah.
We could do a lunch menu like Lords do and post it on social media. See what people can do, but you'll have to get inventive.
They always say that the Lord's lunch is the best, don't they?
Oh yeah, but even like the food for the punters good, isn't it?
What do you reckon the Edgbaston lunch would be like? I don't reckon that.
It'll be Birmingham's famous for the invention of the chicken tikka masala, isn't it? Or chicken balti pie, is it?
Yes, I think it's tikka masala.
Yeah. So there'll be a bit of curry knocking about. Like I said, I think I'll put. I know Birmingham is the Midlands, but the non-London grounds, I think I've got a bit of catching up to do on the food situation. Haven't they?
I'd agree. So it looks like your tip-off was incorrect.
Incorrect. I just saw Moeen. What a ripper!
Right. Well, that's not.
We're watching the same game.
That's not good. That's not concrete, Rob.
Well, we'll see. Khawaja looking pretty solid here.
Yeah, Khawaja's had a good morning.
He looks actually more refined than he did last night. I think last night of the two, he looked the more edgier batsman. Yeah. But again, the game's in good shape. Got a barbecue this afternoon.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
What in your backyard?
No, a friend of ours, in Wellgaz. You're going to cook some food for us, and we're going to have a few beers. With cricket on, of course.
Yes. It'll be a nice afternoon. Weather should shape up for you.
Bit overcast, but it's fine. It's nice and warm, isn't it?
So then, ask the question before, as we head into the lunch break, final 25 minutes of this session. If you were to pick the dream Australian-England hybrid, Bazball 11.
Bazball 11. So it's playing to Bazball.
Playing to Bazball. Who are you picking?
Are all these players in form?
Yeah, they're in form.
So I think if
It'd be crap if they're out
I
of form,
think
wouldn't
no, well, in current form, what I mean, it's like
No,
because
I'm
what I'm
saying
saying in prime, you'd have Warner playing, wouldn't you?
So I'm saying of the players we've watched. So going back to 2005 up to now, what kind of 11 would you pick to play a baseball approach from the two countries?
Well, I think you'd have Crawley opening with Warner, wouldn't you, in terms of speed of play?
You reckon?
Yeah.
No Hayden.
Oh right, I thought you meant like now teams, right?
I
Sorry.
said from 2005.
Sorry. From 2005.
I was thinking about this. Do you want me to give you mine?
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you can
please.
critique it.
Yeah.
So I was thinking Hayden and Trescothic
Yeah.
opening the batting. Trescothic obviously very attacking in that
Very
2005
fluid, isn't he?
Ashes. Two languid left-handers. I'd probably have Vaughan. No, I wouldn't. I'd probably have Ponting at number 3.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard because you want Thingy in, really, don't you? You want Vaughan because in many ways he played the baseball approach in 2005. Very aggressive and was the leader of that side. But
they knew they couldn't poke around at
Yeah.
Australia, could they? And
Yeah.
look to survive. They had to fight fire with fire, didn't they?
But I'd probably go with Ponting at 3. 4, I'd have Peterson.
Mhm.
Oh no, 4, I'd have Root. 5, I'd have Peterson.
Mhm.
6, Gilchrist.
Mhm.
7, Stokes. 8, 8 Flintoff. 9, Brett Lee.
Yeah.
10, Shane Warne. 11, Glenn McGrath.
There's a real argument that Shane Watson could find a place in this side.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's the type of cricket that would really suit Shane Watson.
You wonder whether he's another one who was kind of subject before, obviously subject to his style of play in one format and having to play a different way, having to adapt. Very much touted as one of Australia's best in white ball for sure.
Watson comes into the camp for me of your Moeen Allies and your Johnny Bairstows. Of sometimes the more versatile a player you are, the more you suffer from that versatility.
Bit of chat there from Johnny Bairstow to Smith. Friendly, of course, but how much animosity do you think there is between these two sides?
I think they're all mates these days, are they? I think that the only ones where you'll really see the animosity is the non-IPL
Anderson
bowlers.
and Broad.
Anderson, Broad, Robinson. I think Robinson likes to give it a bit. I think that's how he gets into the game, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Anderson says that he's does less of that now than he used to, but I still think he fancies a chirp every now and then.
Yeah, I think franchise cricket's brought a lot of internationals together, hasn't it?
Yeah.
They share dressing rooms, they share teammates, and it's a lot less of a hostile game as it used to be. But I think as it hots up, you'll see a bit about this series. Moeen's starting to get a little bit of turn of the pitch here. Have you noticed?
I think you would want in this series for it to become an iconic Ashes series. You obviously want good competitive balance between the two sides, but you also want to see a little bit of that nastiness. That is part of the Ashes. You don't want it to overspill, but you want to see a little bit of sledging. You want to see a bit of the Michael Clark comment to Anderson, breaking the arm, the Mitchell Johnson and Anderson.
Why are you chirping now, mate? Yeah.
All that stuff.
Why are you chirping now, mate? You don't get any wickets?
Yeah. You love an accent, don't you?
That was good.
What do you reckon is your best accent?
I don't want to be while we're on the internet. I don't want to be put on the spot.
Yeah.
But there's
a
few.
Like your South African one, don't you?
Yeah, when there's beer consumed, it's a lot easier to do.
Stokes coming on.
Interesting.
It'll be interesting to see his paces.
Bumpers?
I think we will see bumpers.
Is this pitch capable of bumpers?
I think we'll soon find out. Stokes obviously has strapped his knee up to high heaven. Been struggling with injury over the last year or so. I'd only want 4 overs or so max from him here. Just have a look. Give him something different.
He bowled a brilliant spell at Old Trafford last year against South Africa. Real high quality seam bowling.
That was one of those spells where he bowled for a long time, didn't he?
It was Flintoff-esque, you know what I mean? Flintoff, by the way, we were talking about Stuart Broad before, weren't we, in terms of like rhythm bowler, but it was so good when Freddie was on those spells in 2005. Literally dragging England over the line with some of his bowling.
In some ways, a young Stuart Broad and Flintoff would be really good for the baseball, wouldn't they? Both streaky bowlers. I saw that you tweeted or put on Instagram or some kind of social media recently that over of
to Ricky Ponting.
To Ponting and Langer at Edgbaston, wasn't it, in 2005? That is the iconic Ashes series, really, isn't it?
Just a common sort of idiom, is it? Something like, or what do you
don't
call
know.
it? Like a mode of Ben Stokes you see is that gritted teeth. He just
Yeah.
generally looks in pain all
Yeah,
the
he
time. He
does.
might generally will be in pain all the time. Perhaps he is.
No ball already. He struggled with this in the last Ashes series in Australia. He struggled with no balls, finding his rhythm because he'd been out of cricket for a while then. I think that's one thing that England can't afford this series is wickets from no balls because you only get one chance against Smith. You've got to take it.
You feel it's one of those. You could get the no ball when the wicket comes. It's very, very like England's look against Steve Smith. How's he looking?
Looks all right. It is
It's
heavily
just heavily
bandaged.
strapped, isn't it, the knee? That's the biggest worry.
He's only very gingerly there onto that leg.
He's the sort of player, though, you feel that would just sort of kind of ignore advice
And
and carry on, don't you?
And I think with him being captain, that is the worry, is that he ignores the advice. You don't want him being a martyr at this stage, do you? In the first Ashes Test, he's already struggling for rhythm and kind of bowling no balls.
It's interesting, isn't it, as well? Australia are creeping up towards that 70 total. I think that's the what point. I mean, I'd still put England in pole position here, especially with Labuschagne being out. But what total do you feel this is getting towards even Stevens?
I think 75 for 2 is even Stevens. I think 100 for 2 and Australia would be pretty happy with that. Looks like England have asked to change the ball.
This has become a real strategy, hasn't it, with teams over the years? Bringing out a couple of treasure chests.
I think if England could keep it tight now, this will obviously...
This is the Chancellor?
This is
the Chancellor?
Chancellor of the Exchequer, yeah. Coming out with his boxes of balls.
I always think they age very badly, cricket balls, don't they?
Well, the Duke's ball ages quicker, I think, than the Kookaburra and the SG, just because I think it's slightly softer leather, and that's why it moves around more.
I once went on the Duke's website, and it's like one of those, like first generation websites, which is which barely works. I think I saw something. They're about 120 quid a ball for a Duke's ball, but I would be surprised if it's like 5 people in a shop, like hand making these cricket balls.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not much succession and continuity in that, is there?
No,
I was of the opinion they'd be like mass produced, and maybe they are. I don't know. It's not my sort of bag.
No, it's
but
just.
I think it's remarkable how our sport, as big as cricket, has like a monopoly of one company that dominates its supply.
Well, Dukes don't dominate.
I mean, in England, they
they do. Yeah, I think obviously Dukes has massive heritage in England for producing the balls. They probably are the best balls for cricket. The Kookaburra seems to be a lot more placid. I know they're using that in the county championship at the moment in some games. I don't know whether it's Division 1 or Division 2 or both. But they're trialing a bit of that, which I always think is a good idea. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's mythology, I think, sometimes.
For sure.
What's his pace like? 81 mile an hour. So again, pretty samey stuff.
I was looking at the Aussie yesterday though, and I think Cummins and that were only at 85. I was never seeing 93s, 92s.
No, but I think you would want, in an ideal scenario, you would want a bowler who is at least around the 87 mark to give us a little bit of variation.
For sure.
From those English seamers that we've got. But we've had a brilliant start to this test match. We're well in it.
This could be a lot of a grimmer picture for England, couldn't it?
The one thing you didn't want in this series was having two, yesterday was nip and tuck. There were times where we really could have capitulated. There were times where I think we went from 100.
There's been a bit of resolve already, hasn't there?
Yeah, there's been a bit of resolve. We've played in the way that we said that we'd play. And we're still, well in this game after 4 sessions of the match.
Yeah.
I think that's ideal for England. It's not going to be a series that you win in a few overs. So
we're getting a few laughs, by the way, amongst our community.
We're getting laughs at.
I know people have saved a few clips of us.
Right.
This could be your moment where you actually showcase yourself on the internet.
Yeah. Well, could only imagine.
Do you reckon there'll be people like pro bottom, pro Rob, like like you're either like Conservative or Labour, or you're either I don't know. Give me another.
Tribes.
Yeah.
Bit of a
Do you think
tribal.
there might be like small, like
We
sort of?
see the world very differently, don't
We do, don't we?
I
I think you'll like attract all like like the Corbynites and all people like that.
think I'll attract the considered cricket fan.
Yeah.
Thinks about the game.
People that park, when there's like loads of parking spots.
Yeah.
And there's like an empty one. I think you like, and it's further away from the shopping centre. There's
Yeah.
like one like lone Mazda. I think that's the sort of fan you'd attract.
Yeah. What kind of fan are you attracting then? Go on.
Like the parks on yellow lines and walks in and hopes they don't get a ticket.
Yeah. Probably is true that really, isn't it?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. We've saved you from a ticket this morning.
Yeah, that was very kind of you actually.
How often do you get parking tickets?
I've had quite a few.
I can imagine.
Have you?
No. Speeding tickets?
I've had a few of those as
I
well.
can imagine.
Yeah. I think my record, I get my 3 points dies off in a year or so. So we're back to your category.
You're a bit of an idealist, aren't you?
What does that mean?
You think about things in a very romantic manner.
Yeah, for sure.
Cricket.
Yeah.
The history of cricket.
Yeah.
The pageantry of cricket. That you'd like us to dress up in shirt and tie for.
Yeah, I think
match.
it's important you keep things like that.
I think maybe for the next when we do this at Lord's Den, you dress up in a shirt and tie, and I'll come in, something that represents more my character, and we can really see the juxtaposition.
I might not let you in
of this podcast. Would you like to be a member at Lord's?
Yeah, but you would as well.
Yeah.
You say this like, it's like it's stuffy and you're very anti-pageantry and like all this kind of thing, but you'd love to be there in the egg and bacon.
Yeah, but you love your beers too much. You'd be wrecked by 4 p.m.
I'd be on champagne in Lords. Leave all
You're getting chucked out.
Leave all the plonk to you.
Yeah.
No, that'd be a pretty all-time low for me being chucked out of Lords.
Yeah. I've been in the Oval.
This is what Steve Smith does to you. He makes you just veer off the game and talk about alcohol.
Yeah. I'd go in the Oval Pavilion. I've been in the Oval Pavilion. I think it's brilliant. Brilliant.
You sneak in?
No, I went with a member.
Okay.
Yeah, it was lovely. I think that's one thing that would be. I know that now we're starting to see more of that of different ways to watch cricket in England. There's hospitality areas at Old Trafford now. The balcony at the point. It'd be good to kind of experience some of the grounds and the different ways instead of going in Foster's party stand every time.
It just again, it boils down to one of cricket's biggest problems, which is accessibility and exclusiveness.
Yeah,
it's very expensive, isn't it?
Yeah,
we know there's a lot of economics involved in international cricket these days, and the ECB banks on the Test sort of calendar, doesn't it? Yeah. Certainly at home for England's fortunes and wealth. So there are occasions in which they'll look to the grounds themselves. County cricket has a problem in terms of revenues. They do have to cash in there, and sadly, that doesn't really match up with obviously making things cheaper.
One thing I would say about cricket compared to football is you do see a lot more innovation from the cricket grounds to kind of
enhance the experience,
and create revenue outside of just ticket sales. And I know obviously there's a lot more money in football. That means that maybe you don't rely on ticket sales alone. But when we look at Old Trafford, the concerts that they put on there, the hotels that are there, cricket is trying its best in this country to make sure that it modernises itself and survives in the modern world. And you've got to respect that.
Stops there, just trapping Khawaja a little bit.
10 minutes before lunch. Feels like tea. Yeah, it has been a long session of.
I enjoyed it though.
I've really enjoyed it.
I think we need to market this a little bit better next time because I've had some positive feedback. Great to see some listeners. But if people want an alternative view of the game,
what we really need to do is sort out our graphics, don't we?
You think
we're still in the dark ages a little bit with the background? I'd like to make them better.
Yeah.
But we'll get the
a big flag.
Yeah. You always wanted a big flag, didn't you, behind us? TTM flag.
Yeah.
Get some orange light and a bit of mood light.
I've been thinking it's red for a long time. I suffer from a condition called colourblindness.
To be fair, I don't know whether I've got the problem because I think it's orange.
Yeah.
But that guy that we met on the train the other day said, "Oh, is it the one with the red logo?" So maybe
it's right. Maybe you've just been conning me into like I've got this problem. No, I do struggle with colours. It's a well-known fact amongst friendship groups.
You struggled with red and green, didn't you?
I struggle with a lot of things, really. England are moving through the overs quick, aren't they? I feel like there's an urgency in the field, isn't it? Well, that's a a Bazball kind of thing.
No ball here, have we? No. Having a look. Yeah, another no ball. This is a problem for Stokes. Yeah, I don't.
It is concerning.
I think it'll be good for us to regroup at lunchtime.
Yeah.
It's obviously, flattening up this pitch now.
Mm-hmm.
I think Ali's going to have to lock in. We're going to have to play on the patience a little bit.
Yeah. Khawaja looks destined for a 50 here, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's a good player, Khawaja. So you've watched the Test series.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I don't like about the Test series on Amazon is you do start to like the Australians, don't you? You really start to kind of learn about the characters.
You see the goodness in them, don't you?
Do you know who I like Mitchell Marsh?
Yeah.
Seems like a good lad.
Yeah. Mitchell Marsh and his family have strong ties in Bolton as well.
Yeah.
Dad played for Little Lever.
Yeah.
I think both lads have done stints in Northern English cricket grounds. So I think they hold the place quite dear to them.
I'd say Mitchell Marsh probably one of the I don't know whether he's in this Australian squad. I don't think he is, to be honest, but one of the underrated Australians of his generation. He played some really good innings against us. I hated his brother Sean Marsh. That was a bad era of Australian cricket.
Do you recall him having a real cash-in summer against England, though? At home, Australian summer.
2023. Let's have a look. Mitchell Marsh is in the squad.
Is that continuing, by the way, the Test? Will this be behind Amazon cameras now?
I think so, yeah. I think...
in front of cameras.
I think so. I think it's something England really needs to shape up and get behind. We've talked about it in the Test Cricket Roadshow episode. I think it's episode 46 of TTM. F1, tennis, golf, everyone's embraced these docuseries, and they're a really good way of getting fans that aren't necessarily big fans of the sport or non-fans into the game. Do you know, imagine if Netflix were following England now. I know that Ben Stokes obviously had a series with Amazon, but it'd be good to kind of...
It's one of those things, isn't it? It will soon become an obvious revenue stream. Oh, is this out?
That is very close. I think it's...
He's giving it!
Oh,
yes. Steve Smith, LBW, but he's reviewed it straight away.
I'm not sure, but I think it's...
Height.
It's umpire's call at best. And watch out for that front foot. Fucking hell.
Steve Smith was adamant this is a not out.
Yeah.
We don't know.
I don't think
we are behind we are behind the game here. So please, no spoilers. Please do not write this.
I don't think it's a great decision. I think it's it's umpire's call at best. It's high.
Has he hit
it's
it?
High. He's not hit.
Height. No one looks good in slow motion, do they? Imagine what I look like in slow motion.
He's definitely not hit it. No, he's not.
So there's no bat involved.
No bat involved. It looks like impact's in just about.
This will be a treat. This. Come on.
Line. Come on. Oh, yep.
Yes! Get in. The Steve has gone. Massive. I repeat, the Steve has gone on the stroke of lunch.
I tell you what,
that could be the happiest mean you ever looked.
I know. That is huge.
Oh,
that is a huge wicket.
Has he called lunch on that as well?
Absolutely burgled. Now we've got to get another one here.
That's out though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's out. I thought it was a bad decision.
Lost.
It was a very good decision. I didn't like it. I was with Smith, to be honest. I thought it was high, if anything. Brilliant bowling.
What a wicket for England. And that is a huge boost. Pressure on Travis Head now. Is he going to come out and counter-attack?
I don't know what Smith's shaking his head at. It's 3 reds.
You're out, pal.
But that's brilliant because, already Smith's rattled. This Australian side can get rattled.
Yeah.
Head's in now. Straight away, I'd be getting...
But it's an unusual Steve Smith dismissal. It's straight. And I think he's so confident when it's straight and moving to that offside.
One thing you would say about that ball is the seam shape into the...
It delayed a bit, didn't it? Yeah.
Seam shape into the slip, so it looks like a natural outswinger, and then it jags back in off the seam.
It's a good ball.
It's a good ball. It's a great ball.
But he's there. He's stranded, isn't he?
Just hitting the top.
So even if not been given out, it'd been given out, wouldn't it? If we'd reviewed it, it would have been out, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah. And we would have reviewed it because it was.
And you can see what it means to the team. They know the significance of that wicket.
Now we've got 2 left-handers in, Khawaja and Head. You've got to get Ali on here because they will attack him. Particularly Head will attack him, and we've got a real chance now
Yeah.
to make an inroad. Head will look to counter attack.
Yeah,
He is
I've
a
got
player.
a real problem with these mustaches.
Yeah,
these Merv Hughes things.
It's old school Australian.
Could you grow one of them?
No.
I reckon it could take me a year.
My facial hair is pitiful. That's why I have to.
We must add, I think it's for a good cause. I think it's the old Movember movement, which is obviously fantastic.
It's a long way off November, though, isn't it?
I know, but I think that's where they sort of begin from.
The Australians like a moustache, don't they?
Yeah,
it's a bit of their culture.
Mitchell Johnson had a big one at one point, didn't he? That was that when he was running riot.
I do like that, though.
He looked like a trucker, didn't he?
I like it when the Australians have a bit of a caricature nature to them. The tashes. It's all part of the pageantry. Average is 47, Travis Head. He's no mug. I think this is one thing that we haven't realised is as Australia have been away from these shows over the last 4 years, they have got better. Players like Head have started to improve the Test record. Obviously, Cam Green now in the side gives them great balance.
Yeah. You're just thinking if England get one more wicket now,
it's right in the game.
Australia are literally on the ropes.
And I cannot stress enough how much I think we need to win this Test.
Oh, yeah.
Because we do not have a good record at Lords. Lords is the next Test.
Yeah.
We need to go up 1-0. I said to you, I don't know whether I said it on the pod or at lunch. I might be repeating myself. I don't mind a 1-0 going into the third Test. I want a really tight series here. I want I don't want a 5-0.
Listen, even at 2-2, you shouldn't be disheartened by that because Australia hold the urn. All they need to have to do is draw.
Yeah.
So the 3 games are still very much in play. If it's
I don't think any Test cricket fan want a 5-0 here.
No really. Fielder out there. First boundary for Travis Head. But Stokes likes it. He must like the line.
I think it's not just the line, but it's just as long as Head and Khawaja continue to play strokes against an attacking bowler like Ali, we're in the game.
No fielders out there. Be interesting to see if this pitch does deteriorate and we do see more spin for Lyon and Ali.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely, Lyon will be a big risk. He'll be a big threat in our second innings because he got 4 for in the first innings.
Mm-hmm.
He got 4 for in his last innings. Or did he get 5 for in his last innings at the World Test Championship final? He got 4 or 5. He will be a problem for us on this pitch because it will start to deteriorate. It has been warm.
How many more overs before lunch do you think?
We've got 1 over now, 3 minutes left.
And you can bet who's bowling this, can't you?
I don't know. It doesn't look like Stokes taking his cap off.
Just a replay again of this wicket. It looked good. It did look good. You thought height was a problem. Smith, you can see his reaction straight away. He's not impressed with that.
It's a leisurely run up from Stokes. But it's just that ability to move the ball. Stokes is... I know your dad don't like his action, does he? But
I think my dad worries about his injuries because he's lean inward, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And I think that can't be good for the knees.
Yeah, he has that kind of pushing the ball.
A little bit on Steve Smith's reaction there. He's shaking his head and he's probably going to be in the sheds now saying it was definitely going over. But how accurate is this technology?
Well, we rely on it so much. And when a review goes for you, you say that the technology is reliable. I don't think we can have too much petulance about that decision. It was 3 reds. It's not even umpire's call. I thought at one point it'd be umpire's call on first look with the eye.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there can be too many complaints though.
Just shows Ben Stokes is always in the game, isn't he?
Yeah.
When Stokes is there, you can. These great all-rounders can go and have peaks and troughs, can't they? Flintoff was the same.
He's huge to this side. He is the talisman.
You think back to Ash's memories, even when Flintoff was injured and he was pretty limited in what he could do, he still had that run-out contribution, didn't he?
Yeah.
These big occasion players will rise to it. Bit of a tempter there from Stokes. Wide.
What are we talking now? 3 balls left before lunch break. I think England go into lunch break very happy here.
It's England's session for sure, isn't it? 3 wickets. Steve Smith and Labuschagne out. You would snatch your hand off for that.
Yeah, you can rest up now over the lunch break. You can come back refreshed.
Yeah.
Anderson Broad, probably, would you say?
Yeah, definitely.
Anderson Broad after lunch.
After some tikka masala.
Yeah, tikka masala or whatever they're going to have. And then
not be a good idea, actually.
You're looking to nip Khawaja out early, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. Quality bowling from Stokes.
Bairstow's looked all right behind the stumps so far.
Yeah,
Taking a
good
good
low catch. We're not getting loads of carry, are we? The pace
No.
is down. So McCullum always looks so relaxed, doesn't he? I don't think I've seen his eyes, the whites of his eyes yet. Have you?
Big into these caps and glasses. What do you think about these bucket hats? That's not for you, is it?
It's very like I'm going watching Stone Roses at Heaton Park kind of thing.
Yeah, we've got a few mates who like to do
for
that
sure. Yeah,
once a year, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. I think it's a little bit contrived.
I don't pull off caps well myself.
No.
You know, any sort of headwear.
Got a massive head, me.
Yeah. I just look like I don't know. I've got Adele at Butlins or something when I wear caps.
Brilliant few overs there from Stokes.
For
exactly
sure.
what we needed. Just this is going to be, in my opinion, this is going to be Stokes' role during this series. Is come on, bowl 4 overs, try and make an impact.
What's he signaling here? But he's getting everybody in.
Getting everyone in
for the last ball. Last two balls.
Couple of balls, bring people in.
So what in aid of obviously preventing singles, keeping Khawaja stranded a little bit,
keep Khawaja on
making play a shot if he's going to try and score. You'd think this would be quite straight, wouldn't you?
I think he would just be looking to nip it slips. A good ball again.
Stokes is really making this ball talk a bit now.
I think this is the great thing about cricket in England is it the ball, you know, does continue to do stuff throughout the innings, and you can get a wicket at any time. It rarely goes dead in England. You're always in the game, batters and bowlers. This has been a brilliant. I mean, there's not been a bad session so far, has there?
No, it's exactly what we anticipated.
Last ball of the
session.
Yep. Runs for Khawaja.
Yeah, and it's escaped the fielder.
75 for 3. So we were talking about 75 for 2, saying that it was probably in the balance. With that wicket from Stokes, particularly the importance of the wicket for Smith.
And Labuschagne.
And Labuschagne, having Smith and Labuschagne in those 3, you'd probably say England are just in front now, wouldn't you?
I'd say so, yeah. I actually think they're not just in front. I think they are at a point where they've got a real opportunity to put the foot on Australia after the lunch break.
Yeah.
You know, certainly with, you know, we know that Travis Head can score quickly, but can also gift a wicket. And then you're into the all-rounders, the keeper, and ultimately you've got to think of it in these situations. You're a few wickets away from the tail, aren't you?
Yeah.
3 quick wickets and the tail's there. So
we've got some inexperience as well.
Yeah.
In this line.
Looks like we're having one more over and Moeen Ali. I'm waiting for some Australian reaction. I've put some fishing rods out there. Hasn't seen it. I bet he hasn't.
He's bowled very well, Moeen Ali, in this session.
I suppose this is why the selectors chose him, because he has been there and done that, despite him not playing loads of cricket, loads of red ball cricket in a long period of time. You know, he's wore the whites. Has he had over 200 Test wickets? I think he has.
He's close to 200.
He's close to it.
Only Derek Underwood, I think, if I'm right. I think I'm right in saying this. Someone can correct me if not. Only Derek Underwood and Graham Swan have more Test wickets than Moeen Ali. I think he is an underrated English cricketer, really, isn't he? What he's contributed in all formats over the years.
I think, and generationally, us being brought up in the Warne and Swan era, you know, the succession for spinners there is pretty high. The bar's set pretty high there, isn't it? Well, and Muller-Ifrin, obviously, as well. There's many more. It's a great ball from Moeen Ali.
And that is the thing with Moeen Ali. He can bowl a beauty.
Yeah.
He's
a lot of left-handers in this Aussie attack.
Yeah. If we got Carey's a left-hander to come.
Yeah.
I think also when you look at their tail, Lyon and Stark also left-handers. So that brings Ali in. Brilliant again.
Ali beating the bat twice in a row.
Really good over. So
promising signs for day 2.
Yeah.
Also, Nathan Lyon, but
How many left-handers do we have? Duckett,
Stokes.
That's it in our top 7.
Yeah.
So we have a bit more of an advantage when it comes to their spinner.
The turn doesn't bother me as much with Lyon, because I don't think England are going to contend with the turn. I think they're going to meet the ball before it turns.
No, I'm just meaning more of the rough outside of left-handers off stump. I'm turning the ball away.
Will Moeen Ali be encouraged by this?
I think he's bowled. Considering that he's not bowled in a match with the red ball for such a long time now, I think it's 18 months. I think you've got to be absolutely buzzing with his performance so far.
This is good. Very, very good from Moinelli.
There we go. I think that's lunch.
That is lunch.
Do you want to sign us off, Rob? Should we just check? Are we fully behind what we're saying? Yeah, looks like it's lunch. Go on, sign us off, Rob.
So we're concluding here. Australia are 78 for 3. England have took the prize wickets of Marnus Labuschagne and Steve Smith. And that concludes our first live session.
Oh, no, it's not.
Here at 2:12.
Oh, go on, we'll just conclude it.
It's not concluding.
Do you want to watch this over? Should we stay on for this over? Go on, we might as well.
We'll stay on for this
we'll
over.
Stay with them.
Yeah.
Hey.
We're having Joe Root.
We've had
yeah.
I suppose we're top and tailing it with a little bit of amateurness there. But
yeah,
this is our first ever live stream.
Yeah.
How have you found it?
Good. Obviously, it's different for me and you, isn't it? We're used to doing the recorded podcast as and then, but it's something we wanted added to our repertoire, isn't it?
Quite like the energy it gives you. Having the game on, discussing the game. This is a format that's really popular in football.
Yeah.
I'm really passionate about kind of those kind of podcasts and fans really getting involved in the viewing side of cricket and giving their own kind of comment and punditry while the game's going on. I think cricket has a real good space for it. Watching a session, especially for big events like this, I've loved it. I think it's a great thing to do with your Saturday morning, isn't it?
For sure. So what are they thinking bringing Ron Root here for the final over?
2 left-handers. We've seen it spinning for Ali. See if he can burgle a wicket. He can be a golden arm, can't he, Root?
Can.
I think he's underrated as a bowler. Obviously, you'd never want him to be your sole spinner. I always think that's a bad idea. But he's different to Moeen Ali, isn't he? He's a bit more kind of skiddy, drives the ball into the pitch. Not happy with himself though. But I mean, it just shows the talent of the man. Really,
he places a lot of responsibility on his show. I still think at times he still believes he's captain, and he has that sort of. I think he's aware of his abilities and how much he's important he is to the team. That was kind of like a beamer almost, wasn't it? He just bowled.
Just bowled. It's a. If you look at that, it's a
Yorker.
It's a seam up delivery almost, isn't it? So it's just got a little bit of shape into the left-hander.
Yeah, this is also England getting as many overs as they can at Australia while they're, should I say, on the back foot.
It's been a brilliant session. I think everyone's contributed.
Mm-hmm.
Anderson and Robinson obviously haven't got any wickets so far, but Broad obviously got the really important scalp of Warner to keep up his voodoo over him. Stokes obviously contributed massively with the Smith wicket, and then who got the Labuschagne? Was it Warner? Was it Broad again?
First ball straight after getting Warner, and
Ali's really kind of held up an end. So yeah, Robinson and Anderson come back after. I think our lines and lengths have to be pretty against these two. Just it's about discipline more than anything, because they will. One of these will break. If we build pressure on them, Head's going to want to score quickly.
Just don't have the kind of stick around that those other two have.
Right, go on, Rob.
So we're now officially at lunch. It's 78 for 3. It's TTM's first live session. We've really enjoyed doing it. We hope that you've enjoyed following us. Thank you for all your comments. If you've yet to follow us, please do. And we'll make announcements when we're going to do this again, won't we?
Yes, I think we'll try and do this every Saturday morning that we can. At least do one session of each test match. I think that'd be great to do. And
for sure.
Yes, we'll try and market it as much as we can, get as many people in. Please interact with us on the comments. We've loved all that. And yes, we'll see you next time. Cheers.
Take care.